Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Gonna be honest, getting a little nervous about the philosophy of one potential Super Bowl contender. Welcome to the show, Maggie Grange and Perloff. We'll get into all the hockey fights from last night in just a little bit. But Pearl, got to stop on the Minnesota Vikings, who made it known yesterday, or I guess the last 48 hours, that the reason that they passed on Aaron Rodgers or a more experienced quarterback is because they believe they've got this window now with JJ McCarthy. You love the window. You love the rookie window.
History loves the window.
The rookie Look at the last contract window, that is.
When did this start? It started right kind of after Cam Newton, or maybe Cam Newton was the first one. It's been nothing but young quarterbacks in the Super Bowl almost every year. It's an exception when you don't have a salary cap quarterback. Last year was the Mahomes versus Hurts, but usually there's a young guy, right? Because you build talent around them, and presumably young quarterbacks at some point become really good first-round picks. So their philosophy is sound. What do you not like about the philosophy?
Well, I think it's really dicey here because so essentially the report was that the Vikings said no thank you to any kind of real legitimate veteran option. And obviously maybe the top one was Rodgers. Stafford obviously was maybe not a reality, but because they think they have a 3-year window with JJ McCarthy. And to me, this is very flawed from Minnesota, and this is why I'm not taking them very seriously as a Super Bowl contender, despite the fact that they're coming off a 14-3 season. They made 7-10 happen 2 years ago out of God knows what crazy quarterback situation, and then the year before that they were 13-4, and we remember that they suffered a home playoff loss. And that was a huge upset as a high seed. So here's why I'm not buying this as a good Viking strategy. It's not just because I'm not sold on JJ McCarthy as being the floor raiser or even the steward of this offense, but two, he's coming off of an injury that then had to be cleaned up afterward. Now, that could end up being absolutely nothing, but it's hard enough for a guy to transition from, yes, high-level college where he won a national championship in Michigan to get into the NFL and then all of a sudden be thrown into, hey, we're expecting a deep playoff run, and he's on a knee that had to get surgery and then scoped.
He's 22 years old. If your knee can't recover then, it's never going to recover.
Well,
you can. 22-year-olds, they recover in real time. He was probably ready to practice later.
Sure.
Well, I mean, honestly, like if you're going to go on the knee, who knows more about his knee, you or them?
Well, okay, I'll give you that, but I'm just saying there's already a high. It's not just, hey, can you come in and start for us? Right. The expectation is, can you come in, start, and also lead us to where we want to go, which is Super Bowl when
within
you're coming
3
off
years.
of 14 wins.
Yeah, by the way, you're not putting pressure on him to do it right now. You get a 3-year window. What are you supposed to do here? You're supposed to just keep on never give him a shot? Like, when?
No, it's not about never giving him a shot. It's about having a little bit more of a safety net. It's about having a little bit more of a plan B when you have these type of expectations.
Aaron Rodgers is not a plan B or a safety net. Aaron Rodgers immediately takes over your entire building. He's the opposite of a safety net.
Okay.
He is the you might say, a virus that takes over the whole body.
Oh gosh.
That's what EJ would say as a Jets fan. You can't bring in Aaron Rodgers as a backup or even as an insurance plan, because when you go to Aaron Rodgers, you're fully committed to Aaron Rodgers and you're fully decommitting to JJ McCarthy.
Okay, so I would have thought that too. Except, and I'm not saying it would have been easy. You don't have a Rodgers come in and all of a sudden he's going to be, backup mop-up duty here. But I watched Rodgers, and I know they're all saying, this was the plan the whole time, and we had this sort of a trust in each other. That's the Albert Breer reporting about the Steelers and Rodgers. Listen to how he was talking about Kevin O'Connell when he did that one appearance on Pat McAfee.
Love KOC. Everyone does.
Yeah, exactly. I think wanted to be in Minnesota first and foremost. The full Brett Favre, right?
Definitely.
Okay.
So, why wouldn't he?
Exactly. So why wouldn't he have said, listen, I understand if you have to get a look at JJ McCarthy at some point. I understand even if I want to come here so badly that you also have taken a guy with a top 10 pick and you've got to see what he has. I think you explore at least with Rodgers and go down the road with him and say, how badly do you want to be a Viking?
No. I was with you up until you think Rodgers is going to sit there and watch him explore the JJ McCarthy option? No. Aaron Rodgers? No.
Seemed like also, he really wanted Minnesota.
He's also too good to do that. I don't think that was going to happen. If you bring in Aaron Rodgers, you have to start him, and they knew that. So I understand. I think it's a tough decision because Aaron Rodgers probably would have been pretty good there. But I do understand them saying, look, listen, if we sign Aaron Rodgers, are we going to win the Super Bowl this year? And they probably did the calculus. No.
They think JJ McCarthy will be the guy to do that.
Well, they think JJ McCarthy within a 3-year window when he's still cheap.
Yeah.
Maybe not this year, but by the 3rd year of that window, yeah, I think they can go all the way because that's more in line with how teams do it. Bringing in a 41-year-old, there's only one 41-year-old who's ever gotten that far. It's Tom Brady, and his health was a little bit better than Aaron Rodgers. So, yeah, I think the end goal is the Super Bowl. I think J.J. McCarthy, in theory, gets you closer.
An opinion I saw yesterday, and I'm just bringing it up because we're both friends with him, and you are much closer with him than I am, but did you see your pal and my acquaintance and friend Peter Schrager saying that J.J. McCarthy yesterday has more pressure on him than Caleb Williams? And I think that this is where I think the Vikings made a real miscalculation, is because you are throwing this guy into the fire. And you can say 3-year windows, but that's one thing for the fan base, and it's another thing for the locker room, because you have guys who are in there thinking, we just had 14 wins with Sam Darnold. You know, we feel like we are just a better quarterback away. And to be honest, you just got worse at quarterback. You know, JJ McCarthy may end up exploding on the scene like Jaden Daniels, but you don't know that. You don't know that. And you're asking a lot. So you just destabilize the quarterback position when that was the one thing that ended up sort of failing you at the very end. The offensive line and Sam Darnold were a big part of the reason why you ended up losing that Rams game.
You just contradicted yourself in that same sentence. You said you were destabilizing yourself at quarterback, but that was your biggest weakness at the end. So you were already destabilized because Darnold stunk when the O-line fell apart.
Just at the end, though. Like, Darnold had been good throughout the season.
Yeah.
You saw at the end how him not playing well completely ripped your playoff dreams out of you, ripped your heart out. And now you're deciding to basically take a step back with quarterback. That doesn't make sense to me.
But no, I'm saying it's not a step back. If Darnold stunk in that particular circumstance, what's a step back? I mean, you couldn't play worse than Sam Darnold did in those last 2 games.
Right. I want more of a sure thing, someone who actually has playoff experience, somebody who has been there before, somebody who is not going to get spooked by Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay.
I think it's a calculus. I mean, honestly, if you think Aaron Rodgers is going to be healthy, and right now the Vikings are 14th in Super Bowl odds. If you put Aaron Rodgers there, I think you are 14th in Super Bowl odds. I don't think that's the game changer. I don't think the NFL is like, ooh, if they bring in Rodgers, come on, Rodgers is going to Pittsburgh, and no one on earth thinks they're going to the Super Bowl. Maybe they'll be a surprise team. I think they're actually pretty interesting, but I don't think Rodgers was quite good enough. It's a calculus, right? You're saying, is Rodgers good enough to get us over the top this year? And I think they looked back and they looked at the tape from last year and said no.
So it's funny because Rodgers did slightly move the Super Bowl odds for Pittsburgh, but not the win total. So it's kind of weird.
They're at 8.5 wins.
I get it. But here's my situation with that. Rodgers also is not costing anybody a lot. Did you see the breakdown of the contract for somebody of his stature?
10 M's.
10 M's he said he'd play for, which is something that sounds like a finance guy would say it. But it's going to be basically like if all the incentives, if he wins Super Bowl MVP and he's going to Disney World, it's like $16 million. So that's my understanding of it. It's about that. So you're not making a time commitment. You're not making a money commitment. So I'm not even asking you to make the decision between Sam Darnold, who got I guess a little bit more money from Seattle. I'm not saying you put JJ McCarthy on ice forever. I'm saying I would have brought in Rodgers this year.
Yeah, I kind of get what they're doing. I think if the ultimate goal is the Super Bowl, then JJ McCarthy is the answer. If the ultimate goal is to have a pretty good season out of Rodgers and go to the playoffs and get stomped again, like they have many times. Like the last 2 playoff runs have been terrible. Last year they looked awful. When Kirk Cousins led them to a 13-4 record a few years ago, they looked awful. They lost to the Giants.
Save Daniel Jones.
So JJ McCarthy, I think it's a bit of a risk, but listen, they drafted him high. If you bring in Rodgers, the opportunity cost is you're not developing McCarthy. And if you don't play McCarthy this year, you're really hurting your chances of that 3-year window. which is legit. I think they have such a great coaching staff. I think they're going to be there. Kevin O'Connell's an offensive genius. Brian Flores is the man on defense. They brought in so much talent around him. And I've seen one JJ McCarthy preseason game, and that was all I need to do. Like, the dude's a stud, by the way. Like, you're totally downplaying JJ McCarthy. JJ McCarthy physically, I mean, I'm not sure what the knee maybe is a problem, but lack of experience, I get that. But if you were putting this guy on a playground, you would definitely be interested in JJ McCarthy.
Okay, not to bring up old stuff, but you definitely said the same thing about Kenny Pickett after watching him in a preseason game.
Kenny Pickett was awesome.
He was great in that preseason game. But so you can't really tell much from practices. But
JJ McCarthy was a higher prospect. I mean, JJ McCarthy is physically, JJ McCarthy looks like a guy.
Well, the only thing about that, you're right, and he was great on that run for Michigan, even though they were a running team. But some of the throws he had to make, he looked really good when he did it. But the running aspect of his repertoire is huge. And we know that for young quarterbacks who have that skill, they can rely on it even more. And so there, I worry about the knee. I'm curious how seriously you guys are taking the Vikings as contenders, and do you like this idea of, okay, we're going to go with the young guy, even though we're a 14-win team, we have Super Bowl aspirations, but we're going to roll the dice with our young dude. 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476.
I got to tell you, I think people are sleeping on this team big time. I really think
bet
they're way,
because if they're 14th in Super Bowl odds,
they're basically the same as the Bears. I think the Bears get all the hype. That's fact. I mean, the Bears get all the attention because of Caleb. I think that they are quietly, just like last year. I mean, did anybody see 14-3 coming last year? No. I think that people can't wrap their head around Kevin O'Connell and Brian Flores as a combo. I think that them alone wins it. So that's why I have faith. They see JJ McCarthy in the building and they like it, and I'm going to trust them over from what I've seen of Aaron Rodgers the last couple of years, which is safe because Aaron Rodgers by the way, Aaron Rodgers was great in Green Bay, won 2 MVPs, and totally came up short in the playoffs. So it's not like Aaron Rodgers is some playoff savior. What has he done in the playoffs the last 5 years?
888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. I want to get EJ on this quickly because, A, I know you're not a Rodgers person, and 2, I know you are a big Flores person. I believe you wanted him to take over the Jets head coaching job.
This crap is crap.
If I remember that right?
Correct.
Okay, so
this year you wanted him?
Yeah, he was one of the top candidates for me. He is like really the straw that makes the drink go. Yeah.
Just like Reggie.
Right.
Yeah. You think that they can win with JJ McCarthy?
My concern with the Vikings right now is I still have questions about how much they actually believe in this guy. Because what we heard was it was basically up to Kevin O'Connell.
Yeah.
Do you want Aaron Rodgers? Do you not want Aaron Rodgers? He spent a weekend watching film and trying to figure it out. And then it turned out, I guess he decided he did not want him. But that is a building that has other minds and other smart people outside of Kevin O'Connell. So if it really came down to only one person and there were people in that building who were interested in Aaron Rodgers, is JJ McCarthy really it? Like maybe Kevin believes in him, but does everyone else believe in him? Do they see the same things that KOC is seeing?
Right.
Now maybe KOC is the most important person that matters, but that would be the thing for me. If you went that so far down the line, where so many people were like, this is so close, we can't figure it out, let's just let one guy make a decision. Well, that tells me that maybe there's some real question marks about the guy you have in-house.
Right.
No, wait. You're saying Kevin O'Connell should not make the decision on the quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings?
No, I'm not saying he shouldn't make decisions, that he was the only guy who made the call.
Why? Who else would possibly? Of course he would make the call. Brian Flores knows nothing about offense, and he's obviously not good with quarterbacks. And what is Quickie Adolfo-Mensa? Like, he didn't play football. Like, it's KOC's job.
Right, but there are assistants, there are staff members. Like, KOC's not a one-man show on offense. He has other people he trusts. Josh McCown's a big guy he trusts. So my thing is just that the fact that there was some dissension in that building, and then they decided to make the call tells me, it doesn't mean that McCarthy can't be great, but it does tell me that it's not a slam dunk. It can't be. It would not have been a discussion if JJ McCarthy is a slam dunk.
So it's a good point, but I couldn't tell if part of that was because Kevin O'Connell wanted to seem like he was showing respect to Rodgers. Like, this is such a hard decision, even though we really want to go with McCarthy the whole time. But gosh, I can't just turn down Aaron Rodgers flat. He was the better quarterback than me. We were both playing in the NFL. I'm a backup. You're a Hall of Famer. And I just can't say, hey, thanks, but no thanks. We got to shut the door on you. But I do think they let it go a little too long. And the fact that the second knee scope was the one that kind of was like, oh, man, this guy.
That was like 8 months ago.
Right. It doesn't matter. It's your knee.
Yeah, but
and
it was like, what,
he's
3
a
months
running
after
quarterback.
3 months after his first
He's not
surgery.
really a running quarterback.
Well,
I mean, I don't know. Did he run that much at Michigan?
That part of his game, I think, is going to come in handy. I would imagine they want him to be a bit more mobile than I think they want a little bit different than Sam Darnold, Kirk Cousins, who are not mobile.
But I totally don't agree with that point. If Kyle Shanahan had made a call on a quarterback or Bill Belichick, like nobody would doubt. Nobody said, well, somebody besides Belichick should make this call. Kevin O'Connell, I think he's underrated. Like he's like Kyle Shanahan. Like, of course, Shanahan would make the call in San Francisco. So, of course, this is all on Kevin O'Connell.
Right, but I think I get what you're saying, EJ. It's about team building,
right,
allocating resources, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So was it just one decision?
And by the way, their GM, who's I like, but hasn't really been a great drafter. That's the knock on the Vikings.
But he drafted
McCarthy.
JJ McCarthy.
Yeah, I know. But they've had to dip into free agency a lot.
Very high. They drafted JJ McCarthy.
Right. I mean, if you don't trust Quickie, well, he's the guy that drafted this guy.
I try when it comes to offense, like I put Kevin O'Connell like he's like Kyle Shanahan light at this point. I would definitely 100% trust him, and that's why I kind of like this decision.
But Kyle Shanahan also liked Jimmy Garoppolo, and he also liked Trey Lance. That's my point. Like those guys have proven that even the smartest minds. Cause you know how much I love Kevin O'Connell. Like I think he's awesome too. But it just the fact that it was such a tough decision, and they say, you know what, let's give it to the smartest guy. Like that smart guy, he could be Reed Richards, who's the smartest guy in the Marvel universe. It doesn't mean he doesn't make mistakes. Like he may have made a mistake on this.
John Lynch and the owner talked them into Trey Lance. I mean, they should have listened to Kyle Shanahan in the first place. That is absolutely like you do not want the GM to come in and tell Kyle Shanahan who to take a quarterback.
Either way, it would have been a massive mistake.
Mac Jones would probably still be there if they had drafted him.
Well, he's there now.
I mean, like Kyle Shanahan's instinct on drafting that quarterback was dead on. By the way,
no, I think that are we ever going to get the real story of what happened with the 49ers and who really wanted Trey Lance? Because they always say that success has a million fathers and failure is an orphan. Everyone is jumping ship on that.
Come on, Maggie. You know that was not the quarterback Kyle Shanahan wanted.
No, I think it was. But now we're talking about 49ers, not the Vikings. I mean,
it definitely wasn't the quarterback he wanted at first when they made that trade.
I don't know who they wanted when they made the trade.
They wanted Mac Jones.
Well, then why did you have to feel like you had to get up to 3?
Because the whole building said, we got to get a mobile guy, and Kyle Shanahan's like, I don't know, whatever, fine, I'm not going to fight it.
No, I think the way the story
you don't think
goes
that's exactly what happened.
No. I think the way the story went, now we're talking about San Francisco. We started here with the Vikings. Now we're talking about the 49ers. The way that I understand the story, and we're on in the Bay Area, so everyone, if you're awake right now, let us know, 888-710-4ISN. The way that I understand what went down with the 49ers is that Kyle Shanahan, et cetera, were so worried that their system, because so many different coaches had gotten hired off their tree, that people in the league were figuring them out. So they had to say, all right, we have to do something to differentiate ourselves, which is creating a more explosive and mobile quarterback, which will alter our system just enough that we will have the edge yet again. And that's why they love Trey Lance. Backfired, now Brock Purdy is the guy. Yeah, I don't buy that at all. I think they made the trade, and Kyle Shanahan wanted Mac Jones. He's like, this guy can run my system. Then everyone talked him into Trey Lance, and he went there. Because that is it's Occam's razor. That's what everybody else thought. I mean, that's the mainstream thought, not what you're saying.
Right.
But that was like that was the explanation after they get drafted Trey Lance.
But here's Occam's razor too. Kyle Shanahan is a complete control freak who is the offensive mind of this generation, and I can't imagine would just leave such a huge decision to a guy who was all-time, yes, John Lynch, fantastic, a defensive guy. And especially with his dad in his ear. But I can't imagine Kyle just sat back and took a backseat to the decision.
So you don't buy any of those reports that Shanahan had to be convinced on Trey Lance? Do you think Shanahan was being the Wizard of Oz in that situation?
I think that what do you think? Do you really think Shanahan allowed himself to be strong-armed and
yes, it was
strong-willed?
4 months.
No.
Oh, my God. Okay.
I don't.
He gave up on Trey Lance in 3 minutes. He was like, "Oh my God, I don't want this guy in the building."
They all
3
did.
minutes.
They all did.
Yeah, but again, Shanahan's like, "Well, this guy can't run my offense. I don't even know why he's here." He gave up on him so fast after he broke his leg. But
they needed to.
Right? Yeah,
they had to. They didn't have a.
Brock Purdy happened.
They didn't have a choice. Lance got hurt. Garoppolo came in. Garoppolo got hurt. They had to go to Purdy. Purdy looked great. They go to the NFC Championship game. That was it. I'm not giving him no, I think Shanahan was involved. That's me. 888-710-4ISN.
No, you said it was all his decision.
I think it was him.
I think it was a collaborative effort. Like I think that they all decided that Trey Lance was the guy, and I think that Kyle Shanahan, the idea that Kyle Shanahan doesn't like mobile quarterbacks. The Shanahan offense needs mobile quarterbacks. Like that's the whole point of it. So it made sense why they would have liked him. Like I don't see how not the other guy, Mac Jones would have made sense to me. Like because he's a more straight pocket guy. Like John Elway, Robert Griffin III. Like those are the kind of guys that they like, guys that can move.
Yeah. 888-710-4. All right, we got two things there. We got the Vikings. Are they making a mistake with JJ McCarthy as the guy? And then two, relitigating the 49ers.
They're very related. I mean, they're almost like the same decision in one form or another. Offensive genius needs to get a quarterback to run his system.
Yeah.
Who does he want? Like, do you want it's all styles. Like KOC has a very specific offense. So I think they're kind of similar team building exercises. Like you go with Trey Lance, you go with JJ McCarthy, and the teams are always going to go with JJ McCarthy. If you pick a guy number 10, you have to play him, right? That's the end of the day. Like this GM picked JJ McCarthy. You think he's not going to play JJ McCarthy?
888-710-4ISN. And the question is, can JJ McCarthy hold up his end of the bargain here, right? Can he be the guy who joins this is a very enviable position for any quarterback to be in. Right? You got the stud weapons on wide receiver. You've got a great tight end. You've got a good offensive line. You've got a great offensive coach who's winning coach of the year. You've got a really good defense. Yeah, you're in a tough division, but I mean, a million quarterbacks would kill for this. 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. Can McCarthy capitalize? Got some funny sound we got to give to you when we get back of young hockey fan out for blood. We also check in on Aaron Rodgers. It's the Maggie Perloff Show. I need to see something bloody.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back, Maggie and Perloff Show. A bit disappointed the Vikings did not sign Aaron Rodgers because I was about 2 years ago, I said Aaron Rodgers was going to go from Green Bay to the Jets to the Vikings because he's Brett Favre 2.0. It's amazing. And then I was just remembering, do you remember, Maggie, the Brett Favre interception against the Saints in the NFC title game in 2009? That was the dumbest interception, and the Vikings were headed to the Super Bowl. That's the thing with this Vikings team. There's so many times where they were headed to the Super Bowl and they just screwed up. When they lost to Atlanta in the 98 NFC title game, this is a franchise that kills me. And if they had signed Aaron Rodgers and he was good, they would have blown in the playoffs because there's something about that purple that is just wrong. So JJ McCarthy, I think if you look at the whole team picture over a 3-year window, we were talking about there's a 3-year window reportedly for them to win with JJ McCarthy. That says Super Bowl to me. Aaron Rodgers says 13-4. Let you down in the playoffs. I think they had to go with JJ McCarthy.
Yeah, I mean, I want to stick up for Vikings fans here because as a Bills fan, I get it. You're kind of just always waiting for the bad thing to happen, and so far that thing has happened.
Many times.
Bills and Vikings share a lot of scar tissue as far as playoff and failures in that way.
Most Super Bowl. I mean, the Vikings have the most Super Bowl losses, right? Or did the Bills catch them?
I think they're tied. Is it 4-4?
4. Okay,
I believe so. But anyway, I get it. I just think that you're really leaving a lot up here to McCarthy. Like this one, I couldn't say, oh gosh, this is just snake bitten here for the Minnesota Vikings. Like this one, I think you have to take some culpability. This is not the sports gods. This is a decision you're making, which is to roll the dice because the guy is still young. I know he played games in college, but you're really asking him to do a lot. Take a 14-win team and get them, to a better spot, and finally, win a playoff game with Kevin O'Connell.
You're asking the number 10 overall quarterback to start by his second season. That's not asking a lot for number 10 pick. To not have him start is bizarre.
Let's go to Jeff, who's in Minnesota. Jeff, what's the feeling in Minnesota right now, McCarthy? Are people confident?
I'm going to tell you something. I'm as nervous as a jalapeno pepper in a Mexican restaurant up here.
Well done.
I'm telling you what, I am just upset because, to me, McCarthy had 2 knee surgeries on the same knee. That's number 1. Number 2, he's a rookie quarterback, and in my opinion, you've got to ease these quarterbacks into the NFL. I'm afraid they could ruin him, putting too much pressure on him. And I want to hear what you professionals have to think about that. I would have taken Rodgers.
Yeah.
Just,
Same.
just
Jeff,
ease
you and
him
I,
in.
same page. And I brought the knee up because that scares me as well. And thank you for the call this morning. And I get the nervousness because, again, Pearl, you just brought up like the history of Minnesota Vikings. Like you're asking a fan base who, yes, have had 4 Super Bowl losses, and you're telling them, don't worry, we got this. Like they never have it.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, but listen, it's not. They are easing him in. He's a top 10 pick in his second year. This is not a rush to judgment. He's played a lot. I know he hasn't thrown the ball a lot, but he's played a lot of football. I think you got to give him a shot. Otherwise, when are you going to give him a shot? Wait till next year or never give him a shot? Would that be your plan? What if Rodgers plays well?
Well, then you got a
Jordan Love situation.
You got a great situation. I mean, it worked for the team that's literally in the same division with them. Let's go to James in California. Hi, James.
Good morning. Thank you for having me on.
Mm-hmm.
You go with JJ McCarthy because, you danced to the girl you brought. You know what I mean? Yeah, Rodgers is good and everything like that, but he's a little bit old and stuff like that, and so I go with JJ McCarthy and forget about the past. The hell with the past. Just keep going. Let's move on, and let's start something new. And if we do get to the Super Bowl or we get somewhere, we do. If we don't, we don't. Hey, just that's how it is. Yeah. And don't it's a jinx or anything like. The hell with that. Just keep going and just enjoy the process. So that's how I feel.
Man, James, that is a healthy way to live. I am envious of that. I wish I could think like that for 5 seconds in my head. Just like, hey, whatever happens, happens, bro. I can't do that. But I love that James does. I don't know if he speaks for all Vikings fans there, but Heath has danced with the girl who you brought.
Yeah, what choice you have here? I think we're denigrating JJ McCarthy a little too much. I don't remember when he got picked number 10. I'm sure some people did think this, but no one's like, wow, that's a crazy choice. Because I think the other teams liked him too. I mean, Bo Nix went behind him, and McCarthy physically was right there with Bo Nix. I don't remember that being like, whoa, this is a crazy reach. The Vikings just took JJ McCarthy. A lot of teams like JJ McCarthy.
I think, listen, the Penix thing overshadowed a lot of what happened in that draft because nobody really saw the Penix going 8 to Atlanta. And by the way, Atlanta's going to take center stage in the show today. Yeah. The Mount Olympus of Maggie and Perloff, which comes your way at 8 o'clock Eastern time. We do the 4 sports gods of every great sports city. Ooh, Penix. Atlanta, it's funny. I don't consider Atlanta like an amazing sports city, but when you try to go to sports gods, there are so many legendary people involved in Atlanta sports. I know that Penix looks really good. Get a bad reputation sometimes. But that was a hard one. Anyway, but I think that overshadowed because, I think J.J. McCarthy was shocking. I think Bo Nix was shocking. And any of them on their own, I think, would have been a bigger deal. But Penix took up so much space.
Listen, there were a lot of rumors that the Giants were going to take McCarthy at 6. McCarthy was not lasting any longer. I mean, he's good on paper. There's nothing wrong with J.J. McCarthy. Nothing was shocking about that big. Yeah, Penix was shocking because they just signed Kirk Cousins. But to me, McCarthy was going soon anyway. I think the Vikings were like, we thought the Giants might take him. So I don't see it that way. I think McCarthy is clearly like a kind of a mid-first round NFL draft prospect, and you got to play that guy. It's just a reality. You can weigh Rodgers all you want, but the GM took him at 10. He's got to play him at some point.
Andrew Bogish is here. You guys can weigh in. 888-710-4ISN. We had 2 calls there from 2 fans with complete opposite points of view. One is nervous because McCarthy's knee and the expectations. And the other says, hey, just the past is the past. None of that has to do with what's going on right now. You took the guy at 10. You got to play him. What do you think? 888-710-4ISN. What's up, folks?
Guys, good morning. Your headlines are sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Insurance for motorcycles, boats, and RVs for protection on the road and on the water. See how much you can save at 1-800-PROGRESSIVE and Progressive.com. The Florida Panthers do not care about Canada, droughts, or Maggie.
Puck played to the line, and it's taken away. A breakaway, Luostarinen hands it on. Bennett in. Bennett scores! Top shelf, and the Panthers take a 4-1 lead with 12:34 to go here in the second. What a shift for playoff Sam. The Panthers lead by a trio.
Doug Plagens on Panthers radio. Sam Bennett scoring on the breakaway after 2 big hits earlier on that shift. He gave Florida a 4-1 lead in the second period. They crushed the Oilers 6-1 for a 2-1 lead in this Stanley Cup final. Matthew Tkachuk happy to take care of business at home.
We just want to protect home ice and play well in front of our fans, and it feels like we've been on the road all playoffs, which we have been, so it's nice to come back here and play well in front of our fans. They deserve it.
And now they are halfway to another cup, which would keep Canada without one since '93. drought.
I'm devastated by what happened last night.
Oh.
It's only 2-1, Maggie. I thought you came down a little too down on this series.
I came in, I was like, man, the one story that we all want to see in sports is Connor McDavid finally winning the cup, right?
That's the one story we all want to see?
It's not.
For particular slump busters, it's the one story that we all want to see.
Community.
It's slump buster / recency bias.
I want to see
the one story that happened in the last 8 hours that we all want to see. I'll give you that.
I want to see Connor McDavid win a cup. I want to see Paul Skeens on a winning team. I want to see.
Good luck with that one.
I want to see. These are what
I
people
want to see him
see.
on my winning team. That's where I want to see Paul Skeens.
And I was discouraged by what I saw last night.
Don't worry, a slump was busted on Saturday in Paris, so we still got that one, Maggie.
I know. You, me, Coco Gauff.
Don't turn your back on Coco now.
Sounds weirder than I meant it. To be fair, Edmonton was down 0-3 last year and almost did the reverse sweep, so maybe I shouldn't be jumping off the bandwagon so fast.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And also, I actually watched almost the whole game. Like, it was 4-1, and Edmonton got a couple shots. Like, I was like, oh, man, Florida, I know they were beating the crap out of them all game, but they got a little leaky. I don't think this series is over.
No, it's not over, but Maggie should maybe like pack your bags, like just start getting your stuff together just in case you got to get off that bandwagon.
I got to leave town.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Not leave town, just like when the bandwagon runs out of gas, you want to get off first. So just have your stuff ready. Down 2-1.
Listen,
I'm
winning with the
up.
NBA either way, so I got an ace up my sleeve.
Can I give you a casual hockey take?
Sure.
That doesn't make any sense, but I'm curious if you guys had this thought too. It's weird to me that the Florida Panthers are a tough guy hockey team. Mm-hmm. Like, how do you be tough down in Miami? And it just strikes me as an odd team. Like Edmonton, that's up in Canada. Like, they're tough. It's just too warm and nice to have beards and beat up everybody.
In Florida?
Yeah, I don't know. It just strikes me
Kind of
like
dude in a tub.
those beards
with a chainsaw
on the beach.
Ugh.
Those Panthers beards with that humidity in June in Miami. You don't think that's itchy?
Listen, I root for the Miami Hurricanes. I value toughness down.
Right, but they cut off their shirts and show their belly button. Like, they're famously, like, they go out there half naked. That was the Miami Hurricanes. They always had light uniforms. It was so hot. The
Florida Panthers should go out there with half a sweater.
Belly buttons.
No, like, they should go Zeke Elliott. Like, it's got to be so
half a
hot.
sweater.
I know they're on the ice. Thank God. They're like, yeah, we want to just keep on playing in the playoffs so we don't have to go outside. It's nice and cool in here. That's their motivation.
Do you realize you could tell a Kachuk or a Marchand that they're not tough? You will leave with no teeth. These dudes are insanely tough.
Oh, there's like 7 of them too. They all look like these wizened veterans with the same beard who's just gonna put your head into the glass.
And he's only 25
years old. It doesn't strike me as a Florida team. I don't know why.
You think Florida golfing?
Yeah, I think
about slacks.
Yeah. I think Western Canada, that's a tough guy team, not Florida. I guess I'm the only one who had that thought.
What if they're all from Western Canada?
They 100% are.
Right. So they're just there for work. They're just relocated. That's all.
Doesn't Miami soften you up though? I mean, it certainly happens in other sports.
The South Beach flu, you're saying?
Yeah.
Well, I think surprise is
Marlins.
I mean, Pat Riley's Heat were pretty tough.
Yeah.
Oh, Alonzo Mourning?
Like military's tough.
Oof.
Right, but I just think it's just it's always been odd, the Florida Panthers being and Tampa Bay too, being great hockey teams.
I think it's just the Dolphins. In terms of people who are soft, I think it's only them. I think every other South Florida team at times have shown themselves to be tough.
Miami Marlins are still a franchise.
Oh,
yeah. Well, they were Florida. They had some tough guys. Gary Sheffield, not a guy you want to get into a brawl
Gary
with.
Sheffield played 20 years ago.
I'm just saying, there's history there.
It's been a minute.
Is there tough guys?
The team is 25 years old.
Yeah, no, you guys can brawl it out about the Marlins. I'm here for that. Wait, can we get the Florida Panther fan? Because if Perloff is saying that you think that the team would actually be soft, this is just a slice. This is a little girl, Sophia. Yeah, young Sophia being interviewed on WP.
That's her stage name.
LG Local 10 News. This is a little Panther fan.
Sophia, what is your favorite part of Panthers game?
The fighting.
The fighting. Okay, so now I have to ask you, now that it has become the big story from this game, what did you think about the fighting, especially in that third period?
It was really good, and I really liked how they punched each other a lot.
Now, did you feel like the Panthers won the fight in addition to the game?
Yeah, probably, yeah.
So do you want to be our local 10 fighting hockey expert?
Yes.
That's AI baby Maggie talking.
This girl's amazing. So that's the fans, Pearl. These are the young Panther fans because, in Florida, anything can happen.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm thinking more and more about it. Just the humidity and the beard. Like, that sounds terrible. Like, what do they do after the game? They must be like, get me into the air-conditioned car as fast as humanly possible. Get the temperature in South Florida right now? It's not
You're
nice.
projecting. This is what you'd be doing.
Yeah, you wouldn't want a beard.
I'm from Philadelphia. They're from Alberta. You think they like this humidity, folks?
Oh, man.
The Indianapolis Colts. Never mind. Cavs guard Darius Garland had surgery yesterday on the left big toe that messed up Cleveland's postseason.
It'll be 86 degrees today in Sunrise, Florida, with a real feel of 97.
Oh, thoughts and prayers.
That's hockey weather right there.
That sounds
fun. I'll bet you half the team wants to lose so they can shave the beard.
Is it that bad for you guys? I feel like beards are all in. You all wear them.
Maybe that's why they're killing the Oilers. They're like, let's get this series over as quick as possible. They could win and shave the beards too.
EJ, you have a beard. What do you think?
Beards during the summer are tough, but I'm a tough guy, so I rock it. I don't shave it.
Hashtag savage.
Let's call your fiance right now and get confirmation on that.
She loves the beard.
Get the out of here, Detroit.
If I shave the beard off, the wedding might be off.
Oh, no.
Seriously, she's very much a beard gal.
It's just we're living in a beard world, you know?
Oh, yeah. Women love beards now. It's one of those, it's like they say, women have makeup, men have beards.
Yep.
And some men have mustaches.
Yep. And
Or
Manny's
tattoos.
AI baby even has a mustache, which is my favorite part of it.
Mustaches and tattoos.
I don't know what's going on. Where are we? Oh, baseball. Dodgers and Padres. First meeting of the season last night.
The pitch. Swinging a line drive left field. Lockridge took a bad route. It's over his head into the wall. Here comes Muncy. Pages going a second. The Dodgers break the tie.
Steven Nelson, Dodgers radio. LA an 8-7 win in 10 in San Diego. These two are playing 7 times in the next 11 days.
That's a lot.
So are the Red Sox and Yankees, right? Last weekend here, this coming weekend there?
I think they're playing 4. I think they're playing 4 in Boston.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
They
got this new kid, right?
That's Roman Anthony,
yeah. 0 for 4 yesterday.
Oh, I can't wait. Can't wait to see what he does.
I was actually so disappointed that he didn't do anything in his first game. That's totally mean for a baseball expectation. I'm like, why didn't you homer? What's your problem?
Last time
I only did Cruz homer.
Last time I saw him, he had a 500-foot grand slam just the other night.
I
know.
And last night he took the awful route to the baseball in the outfield, got past him, ended up giving up a triple.
Well, I was thinking about it. I'm like, did he find out he was getting called? This is a Red Sox prospect,
Roman Anthony.
Roman Anthony, pardon me. I keep on saying Anthony Rendon. He's at the end. Roman Anthony, big prospect. I thought, did he get called up like an hour before? I didn't think they gave him a lot of heads up.
No, I mean, I saw a tweet around maybe 3, 4 o'clock that he was getting called up. So, but I mean, 3 hours before first pitch.
I actually was Googling his name. Last week, a report came up that they were on the brink of calling him up.
Okay, so he had a week to get nervous about it.
I don't know.
You got to get the nerves out.
Yeah, well, it's not even. But a lot of guys come up as a former fantasy baseball player. Like, you need that Ryan Braun. They come up and the pitchers have never seen them before, and they just go off in the first week. So, anyway.
Got the nerves out. 0 for 4 yesterday and a bad error in right field.
Manny can document all Red Sox errors.
Go Yankees.
888-710-4ISN. Thank you, Bogish. Coming up, so this one's weird. We have a spat going on, and it involves some very important people in sports that you need to know about. It's getting a little weird, though. Got details for you next.
You're in a 5-minute break.
Mustache.
4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining.
Strangers glanced by, couldn't recognize.
3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to the Maggie Perloff Show. We got a weird beef brewing between two really important figures in sports in America. You're not going to expect this one, though. First, though, let's get to Leland, who's in Sacramento. Hey, Leland, before you get to your question about Brandon Ayuk and the 49ers, Perloff and I had a disagreement about who really wanted Trey Lance. Did you think that was more John Lynch, the GM and the front office, or do you think that was Kyle Shanahan? Who wanted Lance?
It's Kyle Shanahan. I'd have to go with him because, he made Trey Lance the starting quarterback, and he saw something in him. He thought that he could coach him to become an NFL-level quarterback, and unfortunately, he never did. I really like the kid. I like Trey Lance. Unfortunately, he just doesn't have the skills to compete at the NFL level, so I'm going Kyle Shanahan.
Okay, what's your question about Ayuk?
All right. Well, what do you guys think? I'm interested in hearing what you guys think about who wanted Trey Lance.
Well, we're split on it.
Well, I tweeted this out there. There's a big show disagreement. Jason Cole, longtime Niners writer, Hall of Fame voter, said that they basically implied they didn't know who they were trading up for when they made the pick. So I don't think like Kyle Shanahan was all in on Trey Lance. And somebody tweeted us a rumor that they were secretly angling for Deshaun Watson at that time. I have no idea. Anyway, that's out of nowhere. Back then, that might have been a good idea. So I think it was a team decision, not just a Kyle Shanahan decision. But
I think it was Shanahan. But that's where we disagree.
But all Shanahan. But definitely, there was definitely reporting that Lynch and somebody else.
Well, you said that Lynch had to talk Kyle Shanahan into it.
I think this was a Silver report. Lynch and one of the executives were pro Lance, and Shanahan was famously pro Mac Jones. We all know that. That's no secret. He's the guy that Shanahan wanted. He looks like a Shanahan quarterback. But wait, Leland, I actually want to talk about this. Half my social feed was about the guy you're about to ask about last night. There's a hot trade rumor involving a 49ers wide receiver.
Yeah, Brandon, that's why I'm calling in today. And so I have a couple things to say about him. It looks like, what my first question would be, what's his NFL stock? What does the NFL perceive Brandon Ayuk? And I'll say, I don't know how the NFL or coaches or team owners perceive him, but I perceive him as somebody he's not, I don't know if he has that competitive edge anymore. So in the 2023 season, he dominated. I mean, he was catching balls over the middle, out to the side. He was, earning some good plays for them. And also, too, he was blocking. He would block guys out of their jocks downfield. He was still dominant. And then when he had the contract drama, and I don't know what that did to him, but he didn't seem ready to compete. Then he got hurt. And then, before minicamp, he unfollowed the 49ers on Instagram. So I don't know what he's trying to say. Is he trying to get a trade? Because, there are people ahead of him. I'm looking at, the wide receiver market. He's not a Justin Jefferson. He's not a CeeDee Lamb. He doesn't have the stock of DK Metcalf. And is he good or as good or better than Amon-Ra St. Brown? And is he trying to angle for a trade, or is he just messing with the 49ers organization?
Leland, great questions all around. I got a couple thoughts on this. First, I think we got to stop taking Brandon Ayuk a little bit at face value with the the unfollowing on social media, because he's already admitted that he made mistakes during that contract negotiation. I think it takes two sides, but he admitted that he didn't handle it well.
Right, but I don't think that changed his image around the NFL. I don't think anyone. I mean, it feels like teams are always lining up for Brandon Ayuk. Like everybody's been rumored to try to trade for him at some point or other. The Steelers, the Patriots, for sure.
But it never went through. Jacksonville.
Yeah, they never offered enough.
The price was never high enough. I think about Ayuk. Comparing him to other wide receivers, I understand the instinct. I think what the 49ers said. What does he mean to Brock Purdy? And I think those are the numbers that became really stark and really like, wow, Brock Purdy and Brandon Ayuk have a connection that is real, that will help us. And so I think that's what led to Shanahan saying he made an emotional decision. Remember, he said he was running up the stairs in a fever pitch thinking that they were going to trade Brandon Ayuk, and he pounded the table and said, we've got to sign this guy. Then he gets hurt, and obviously it doesn't look as good. The trade that you may be thinking of is Grant Cohen, who is a sports figure in San Francisco. I know he's got a YouTube channel. I think he's a radio guy too. Proposed a trade, Terry McLaurin for Brandon Ayuk.
Yeah, so obviously people have been trying to link Brandon Ayuk and Jaden Daniels. They played college together, and Terry McLaurin wants out of Washington because of his contract. There's no way this is going to happen because I don't even care. Nothing matters except Brandon Ayuk's knee. No one's trading for a guy who tore up his entire knee. That's not even a possibility to me. I would not question Brandon Ayuk's toughness or his dedication to the team. He's just got to be healthy, and I don't think Washington would even consider that risk because he was really hurt last year. He got hurt I think he tore more than just his ACL. That was early in halfway through last season. There's no way they're giving up Terry McLaurin for that. So I love a trade idea. I'm down for any trade idea, but that can't possibly be because Terry McLaurin's at the top of his game.
We should talk about McLaurin, though, because he's 30 or about to turn 30, and he wants a new contract. And is this the one thing that could be unsettling the waters in what looks like an otherwise really exciting future for the Washington Commanders with Jaden Daniels? Get to all that. 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. But yeah, I think we both believe Brandon Ayuk's not going anywhere.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Got some quarterback drama brewing. Welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. This is of the NFL Varietal. Good morning, Pearl.
Good morning.
What are your favorite guys? Someone who you think...
What are my favorite guys?
I think so, because I think you believe that he has a big fan base amongst NFL coaches.
Yeah, and I am not an NFL coach, so I am not in the cult of this guy.
Oh, okay. Well, the cult of Kirk Cousins, Kirk O'Chains, if you will. The Atlanta Falcons opening their 3-day mandatory minicamp today. They're expecting Kirk to be there. Now, you like that? On the surface, like Kirk Cousins, is he a needle mover? Well, it depends. Now, in Atlanta, it's over. The amount of stuff that has happened in such a short amount of time is kind of remarkable. It started with him sort of inadvertently ratting out the organization that they were tampering with him before he signed, so they got in trouble for that. Then the Michael Penix thing happened where Penix is going to be inserted. He gets drafted, and Kirk is not happy about it and made that known, and it became a huge story. Then Kirk gets benched week 16 of the season, and then he says, well, I've been playing through an injury that I just didn't tell anybody about. So there's not a lot of trust. It's not a great situation. So I start looking around, and Diana Rossini saying he's going to show up to this mandatory minicamp.
Yep.
But I'm not so much worried about Atlanta. For me, it's I look around to other vulnerable quarterback rooms in the NFL, and I'm thinking, if I'm the Indianapolis Colts, I don't know if you want to add any more drama to the Cleveland situation. It seems like they're on full tilt right now.
Oh, my God. What are you doing?
But at least if I'm the Colts, I'm seriously looking at Cousins. Anthony Richardson just went down with a shoulder injury, right?
Yep.
We're not sure what his future is going to be. You gave money to Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones has gotten people fired in the NFL and will get this regime fired, most likely, for the New York Giants. I don't know if you're Shane Steichen, how you think I need a little bit extra safety net, a little plan B, something like that, because the Colts are not tanking organization.
No, and they actually have a pretty good receiving core. But Shane Steichen to me, his ultimate quarterback, former Philadelphia Eagles offensive coordinator, is Jalen Hurts, a guy who drops back and then can escape out the back of the pocket and run around. And I think that's why he took Anthony Richardson. I think that's why he likes Daniel Jones, who's very mobile. So Kirk Cousins does not feel like the fit. I like the indoor aspect for Kirk.
Sure.
But I think of a Shane Steichen quarterback. The ultimate Shane Steichen quarterback is Jalen Hurts. And maybe I'm wrong about that and he has a totally different philosophy, but it sure seems like he's trying to recreate that in Indy. I think he wants a running quarterback and Kirk's the opposite.
Well, I ask you this. Do you think he wants the perfect quarterback and running quarterback, or do you think he wants to remain the head coach of the Indianapolis Colts? Because I think you got to ask yourself, do I want to still be the head coach here? And I don't think that's a given pass this year because Richardson is not trending in the right direction. If you're the one who stuck your neck out for him, then I think him and Chris Ballard, the GM, could finally be gone. Let's also add on top of this. That. Yeah, I know. He's like the man with 100 lives. But let's add on top of it, Jim Irsay, what?
Yeah.
I don't know. Jim Irsay, the owner of the Colts, just passed away. So obviously our thoughts going out to their family. I saw a story yesterday about the succession plan that's now in place with 3 daughters who are going to be running the Indianapolis Colts. You don't know if they have designs on doing something different, bringing something in. Like, guys should feel like they're coaching for their jobs at this point in Indy.
Right, but I don't see Kirk Cousins as this savior that maybe you're describing him as.
Stabilizer. I don't know if I'm saying...
But doesn't even know the offense that is June 10th.
Well, I mean, this is why you bring veterans in who have a lot of experience, and that's a winnable division. I'm looking at what's going on in Houston right now with C.J. Stroud. Who knows about Jacksonville? They've got obviously a lot of talent, a lot of flash now, but do they have the right coach in place?
Let's not forget those Titans with Cam Ward looking like the next guy.
How about Cam? But we'll see what happens with Cam. I don't know if you're expecting a lot this year.
Let's not forget Shiloh.
And let's not forget Shiloh.
I just think that this is you have to be competing here this year. If I'm Indianapolis, I think Kirk Cousins gives you a chance for that, because here's the other thing about Daniel Jones, and I'm not saying this because to disparage him, even though I just said he got coaches fired, because that's just the truth. He also gets hurt a lot. He runs a lot, but he gets hurt a lot. So you already have Richardson hurt. Jones is a walking injury waiting to happen. I would be looking at Cousins if I were them.
Yeah, I just think style-wise, he's the exact opposite of those two guys. So I don't totally
they brought in Flacco last year as a backup.
Yeah, I know, and that didn't really even look good. They brought in Daniel Jones as another version of Anthony Richardson. kind of inaccurate mobile guy, big arm. I mean, nobody's arm is as big as Anthony Richardson. I think he leads the league in 40-plus yard accuracy, but he just can't throw 4 yards. So not accuracy, like he has all these big plays. Daniel Jones has a big arm. I really like Steichen as a coach. I think he can make something out of this. Like Kirk Cousins just doesn't feel right there for the offense he has to me. So I wouldn't do it.
Where do you think if Cousins is going to get traded?
I do disagree. You start off by saying Atlanta's done. I don't agree with that at all. He's going to be in minicamp. It feels like a Jimmy G situation where the Niners had a goodbye press conference and then started him next year after 3 guys got hurt.
That?
Like Michael, I don't understand Atlanta. Talking about, you said needs a backup for injury guys. Who needs a backup for an injured guy more than Atlanta for Michael Penix? Michael Penix has the worst injury history of any guy quarterback coming into the league. So I think he makes sense there. He would be the worst idea for Cleveland ever. To bring in another old guy for Cleveland would be terrible. I think Pittsburgh, that ship sailed with Aaron Rodgers. Honestly, I would not bring him in anywhere. I mean, maybe if you convince him to be a backup to Brock Purdy in San Francisco.
Well, they got Mac Jones.
Yeah, they could say goodbye to him. I mean, like, honestly, like, or maybe bring him as a backup. I would not bring Kirk's expensive.
Yep.
You have to trade up assets. I would wait for an injury. I would not bring in, like, Indianapolis, you can't do that right now because you would mess up all their plans. That's what I'm saying. Like, don't make that commitment to Kirk Cousins, but you're going to have to give up picks and money, and you just don't do it.
Can I ask you this in a flip way, the flip side of it? So if I ask you, who do you think is the most vulnerable quarterback room in the NFL right now? Like, who is the team? Because I just gave you Indy. EJ, I remember you said Miami. Miami is also a very vulnerable quarterback room with a quarterback and a coaching staff that I know Tua got the extension. But how does Mike McDaniel feel like he's safe at all?
Mr. Unlimited.
Well, are they a Tua or bust organization? Like, they know if Tua is not on the field, they're not going to win. Does Cousins move the needle that much for them?
I think Cousins playing that weather could be dangerous. I mean, I do respect McDaniel as a head coach. Maybe he's not the game changer, maybe that Sean McDermott was talking about. But I think he is a good offensive coach. They got some decent weapons, good weather. I think that could be something.
Yeah, old guy.
Are you amenable to that?
Pretty good guy. He's obviously probably in the cult of Kirk. He's a McVay Shanahan guy.
This is what I mean. You look at vulnerable quarterback rooms, and I think Indy, and I do think Miami.
We're taking Cleveland out of this, right?
Cleveland is such a weird. Remember the story where Kirk Cousins was spotted at a Chipotle in Cleveland? And we're like, oh well, that's way too random.
The problem is Miami already has a $50 million per year contract on Tua. I'm not sure, like, that would be one of the most expensive, brittle quarterback rooms because don't forget, Kirk Cousins is coming off an Achilles tear and a shoulder injury.
Chipotle.
So which he didn't tell anybody
that's
about.
A ton of money into 2 injury-prone quarterbacks. You get, like, at the end of the day, it often comes down to money, and I think money would be an issue.
So do you think is Kirk's next stop then broadcast booth? Like you guys are saying there's absolutely nothing available for him.
I think Atlanta is a good spot for him. I think that they have to find a way to reconcile. But you did bring up some really good points. Like I think there's some bad blood.
No doubt.
Especially from Kirk's camp. Like they were probably furious about the Penix draft pick. I think he's got to settle in there and either they wait for an injury or they just say, hey, they need a backup. That's a very vulnerable quarterback room. We started the show by saying, JJ McCarthy, what do we know about this guy? What do we really know about Penix's ability to play 18 games? How many games do they play now? 17.
18 weeks.
Give him one preseason game.
Yeah, and it's going to be 18 soon, so you're right about that. It's a fair point. I just don't know if it's an untenable situation.
Well,
right?
And also, we're doing vulnerable. Like, we're not talking about the Saints or the tanking teams we're not putting in.
I think the Saints are an all-out tank team.
Right. So Cousins doesn't make sense. Obviously, they could use a
trade him in Division II seems unlikely.
Yeah.
Also, wouldn't you just kept Derek Carr?
Yeah. Well, Carr retired, but
I know, but I think he probably could have been talked out of it. No.
I don't know. I think that was a Carr decision. I don't think that was a Saints decision.
By the way, is Carr going to resurface at some point? I was thinking about that too.
Oh heck yeah!
Like he's definitely taking a snap this year.
Future Jets quarterback Derek Carr.
They should have just done it the first time. They were whining and dining them Italian restaurants in New Jersey.
You know where else?
Chipotle.
Do they know his order though?
Why are you wishing this stuff on me, Manny?
I got to tell you, one of the most confusing offseason headlines was Kirk Cousins spotted in Cleveland Chipotle and he didn't sign there.
I know.
What the heck? He's just in Cleveland getting Mexican food?
Well, everybody goes to Cleveland for the best Mexican food. I mean, you know that.
That was the worst rollout, maybe the history of rollouts of all time. Ooh, Kirk Cousins is in Cleveland. Get excited.
Also,
they didn't even want them.
Can you go to a more like public place than Chipotle? Like, because you can't go to McDonald's or Burger King or something because that's the drive-through. So you're not going to get spotted in the way you need to get spotted. That's full on, full bloom. I'm waiting in line for my burrito bowl.
And even when we look at the fast food places, like when you order, you have to then talk along
to three different people. Yeah.
So like
Max
multiple people are going to
exposure.
see you. Right. The amount of eyewitnesses doubles compared to most other fast food restaurants.
You're right. It was a terrible rollout because there had to been a little bit of thoughts. Like, all right, well, the first person who takes what protein do you want?
Chipotle.
Might not be a football fan, but the second person who's doing like rice and the other things,
Chipotle?
most likely. And if not those two, the person who's checking me out, like the cashier, probably knows who I am.
But I got to slow this out for a second. If you go to a city, and you want to be recognized, don't you go to like the most famous restaurant, not a chain fast food restaurant?
Well, what's the Pats and Geno's of Cleveland?
I
or
don't
what's
know.
the Skyline Chili of Cleveland?
Yeah, I have to claim it because they're idiots. Like, if you wanted to get recognized in New York City, it's not like you would go to, I don't know.
No, well, this was the equivalent of going to Times Square, basically being like, hello, everybody.
Basically, yeah, you went to Sbarro.
You don't even know where that Chipotle was.
That's true.
It's not Times Square. It's not like he went to the Five Guys at Times. I don't know.
Okay, what's the most famous restaurant in Cleveland?
Yeah,
I think in
Probably
Cleveland,
LeBron
though,
James' Steakhouse.
Does he have one?
No. I just made that up.
Cleveland though is like a meat and potatoes like hard hat town. Like New York is a little glitzy. Like maybe going to like Tao or going to one of these clubs like that may make sense. But in Cleveland maybe it is going to Chipotle.
When I visited Cleveland when I was in college, I dined at this fine establishment called Buffalo Wild Wings. Not bad. Not bad.
Man, you're like a platinum member there. I feel like you've been to every B-dubs in the East Coast and
I have.
the Midwest.
It's not good. It's not good.
That's an old part of my Take the Podcast joke is they go to every Super Bowl town. They go to Olive Garden and all the media is like, I tried out this fancy restaurant. They're like, yeah, I'm going to go to TGI Fridays and Chili's.
The Olive Garden in Times Square was a big pickup spot from what I heard.
Yeah, just the fact that you guys are like, Kirk Cousins obviously went to this Chipotle with a total agenda. Because that's
Definitely.
He definitely did.
Oh my God! Like
definitely.
But that's like, well, if you want to get spotted in Cleveland, there's only one spot to go to.
I'm sorry. I'm looking up there's amazing restaurants in Cleveland. I know the food scene there is good, and I think it's
that Buffalo Wild Wings, not too far from the basketball arena.
It's getting better and better, but I can't get what's the tourist trap? That's what you're asking, right?
Yeah, we don't even know if this was in the suburbs or if it was in the city. We don't have the slightest clue.
Was it in Berea? Because that would be a little on the nose.
But you don't need a fancy restaurant
too. It wasn't even like he was just spotted by a guy who took a picture from 50 yards away. He was like, "Hey, come on, folks! Like your new quarterback is here."
Can I inquire if you're keen on that?
Kirk does do speaking engagements, right? I think he preaches or.
Oh well, maybe he was there for that. Okay, I got a couple for you, and if anyone here has any experience about the Cleveland dining scene, you can let us know. Apparently, I'm looking at Mallorca is maybe the most
that's Spain
award-winning restaurant. Blue Point Grill, I'm seeing. Sokolowski's University Inn. Now I'm just giving free. Guarino's. Johnny's.
Oh, yeah.
Johnny. They're a neighborhood eatery serving authentic Italian cuisine since 1920. I mean, you could do that.
Listen, the real Cleveland Browns fans, the dog pound, they're not eating at these these wine and cheese places. These are people that go out there and wear dog masks and yell at yell at George Pickens, get in a fight with George Pickens during Browns games. These are not the folks that are going to these wine and cheese places. You want to go to the hard hat places. You want to go to Chipotle in Cleveland.
How about Guarino's? That's Cleveland's oldest restaurant. Serves authentic Italian food.
How old are we talking?
I don't know.
Chipotle is the way to go. He made, the moves were correct. Like everything he did worked in terms of getting people excited and interested and potentially him going to Cleveland. The problem was the team and the people that need to be interested was the Browns. And unfortunately, it seems like the Browns weren't that interested because they didn't want to give anything for him.
I got one thing. Is Chipotle a hard hat restaurant? I don't know if I see it that way. I go a lot with my daughter. It feels like I feel like it's a lot of construction workers in there.
It's the everyman food.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know about that. It's like the Tech Bros New Age fast food restaurant. Like it's the only fast food restaurant that has like an origin in Silicon Valley. I don't think it's the hard hat store.
I thought its origins were in Guadalajara, Mexico.
No, it was actually a tech guy.
No.
This was very much a tech story. Like Chipotle, this business guy had no knowledge of Tex-Mex food. He just took the market It's a brilliant founder. He lives in New York.
Okay, do you want to put that as a poll? Do you consider Chipotle a hard hat lunch spot?
And also, what's your order?
I get
for all that.
I get a bowl.
Sure.
Brown rice,
Okay.
steak, black beans. Pay extra for the guac.
Of course.
Diet Pepsi.
Fancy.
That's it.
Yeah, and salsa.
No cheese?
I
sour
probably
cream?
don't do the cheese. I do. Well, nah. First of all, I think do they charge for sour cream?
No. I'm a big sour cream guy.
They charge for the guac, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a killer.
Yeah.
The new, I don't even know, give the commercial, but that new Chipotle honey chicken is crack.
Oh, I saw the ad for that the other day. But
It's
in the
ridiculously
ad,
good.
they put so much guac on there. I'm like, they don't give you that much guac. So the flavor combo sounds pretty good.
on crack?
But I would say it's the new McDonald's. I think it's fancier. It's
McDonald's not
upscale
fancy.
fast food.
I mean, maybe hard hat's a strong word, but I think it's like you feed your family on Chipotle. Like that's like the middle class. Anybody could go and say, "Oh, I'm gonna go to Chipotle." I feel like I walk in there, I could literally see a construction worker. I could see a mom of 4.
Right.
I know, because my mom of 4 would often get a Chipotle, so I know that for a fact.
You can
That's
also
a personal
see
one.
a tech bro in there.
Yeah, probably. 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476.
Double protein all the time, by the way, guys.
We started this conversation about Kirk Cousins. It ended with Chipotle.
Delicious.
Started with Kirk Cousins, and we're asking what's the most vulnerable quarterback room in the NFL? Like a team that's actually trying to win, not New Orleans, who, if they win 2 games this year and get the number 1 overall pick, I think they'd be secretly thrilled about that.
Cleveland, I don't think they're 100% into winning.
Oh, that's tough because that's maybe a coaching staff coaching for their job. Indianapolis, Miami. Who could actually be in play here? 888-710-4ISN. All right, we got sports beef brewing. I didn't see this coming between one legend and one up-and-coming legend. And their dad, of course. Because every sports parent has to get involved now in everything. Get to that next, M&P.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
All right, welcome back. Maggie and Perloff Show. Heated fast food debate. Now, I saw we put a question on social media. Can you just explain it real quick?
Yeah, what is it? Wait, sorry.
What is it?
I'm on the live feed.
Chipotle, like, is it a hard hat restaurant? Is that how we word it?
Yeah.
Is that a word that still exists? Do people understand that?
Yeah.
Is it an everyman restaurant?
An every man, every woman restaurant, sure.
Right.
Hard
like,
hat.
okay. It's not McDonald's. Can we at least admit that?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. But I think it kind of was.
I don't think you guys are. It doesn't sound like you guys are willing to admit that.
No, Taco Bell is McDonald's.
Yes.
Good point.
Yeah. Okay.
We were asking because Kirk Cousins, who is in a dicey situation now in Atlanta with being a backup basically to Michael Penix, he went to Cleveland and went to Chipotle. We said that's a restaurant for maximum exposure. Like you're going to come in contact with the most people working there. You're definitely going to get recognized if you're Kirk Cousins. And the fact that he went all the way there and did that, and then they didn't sign him, and now he's looking at this uncertain future. But can I bring up another food-related situation?
Is Bogues' face when you said that? It was like,
What's that?
You're like, that's where you go for maximum exposure. Just like, I think you've talked yourself into this Chipotle maximum exposure. Take a little too hard.
Well, where else do you go?
And then you and EJ sort of boosted each other on that.
Was he supposed to go to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and give us a ticket for one, please? Like, where else are you supposed to go?
You want to be seen. There's only one place in town to go. It just sounded funny in a vacuum.
Everyone knows when you get to Cleveland.
Yeah, that's exactly what it sounded like. Remember,
like it's the Ivy or what's the hotel in?
The Chateau Marmont.
Yeah. Like, listen, we've proved without a doubt that Kirk Cousins went to the suburban Cleveland Chipotle to be found.
I thought it was inspiring. I thought it was like someone put some thought into this. I don't know where else you go. Hang out at the airport and hope to get recognized. I don't know where you go to get recognized.
Okay, so what's the food-related take? I want to hear this.
Well, actually, okay, we'll do a quick food thing.
Yeah.
I just want to say something that I had not had in a really long time. I just want to let everybody know, if you were worried that a Betty Crocker box cake tasted any different than it did when we were kids, it's the same, guys. I just had to make one the other day. Blew my mind. God, this thing is good. And I brought even the frosting in the container. I didn't make one thing from scratch. I just added water, a little vegetable oil, eggs. That stuff is so good. It's exactly how you remember it. And I feel like that's rare now. Things don't line up with the tastes of when we were kids because of new processes and new chemicals and all that stuff. The chemical mixture of this is exactly how you remember it.
Okay, big issue though.
Yeah.
You had to add eggs.
I did.
So, but then you want to lick the batter.
Oh, I don't care about that. Should I?
No.
You don't lick the brownie batter? You don't lick anything that has eggs in it?
So not anymore. I would not suggest that.
Because of the salmonella?
You had an episode, didn't you?
No. But I like the brownie mix where you don't have to add eggs. First of all, it's easier, and then you just mix it up, and then you can go to town.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh, and also
So like a banana bread or anything that you bake that
yeah.
has an egg in it, you won't lick the spoon?
Well, no, I would just advise against it, especially for your kid.
Yeah, I'm sure Odyssey lawyers would approve of us not.
No, but hey, there's a big egg thing going on right now.
Yeah, I
right?
saw there's a big salmonella.
Yeah, you don't want to eat all. Actually, I heard a thing on the news that you don't want to do soft boiled eggs anymore either.
Is that right?
Yeah, like the eggs are bad right now. Good luck with that.
It's too hot in Florida. Eggs are too dangerous.
I heard the bagged lettuce. I knew the bagged lettuce is an issue. But what about the eggs now?
So did you let your kid?
No,
lick the bowl?
I didn't. But
there you go.
I baked it after he went to bed. It was a surprise.
That's kind of evil.
No, he's up the
Is this
next
for
day.
him or you? Be honest.
Go to bed now. It's 3:30 in the afternoon. Okay.
Did anybody here make their mom?
Tired, Mom.
Did anyone else make their mom or dad make cookies and then just so they could lick the bowl? Because that was my.
I didn't have to make my mom. She just gave it to me. She was like, it was a tradition. It was like, hey, here you go, guys.
Yeah,
and
who
then,
gets to lick the spoon?
And then 4 rambunctious boys were just fighting over a bowl and a spoon. For
Yeah, you
10
look like
minutes.
the Oilers and the Panthers last night, just punching each other in the face
exactly.
for chocolate chip cookie dough. Okay, a little aside there. Let's get to an interesting topic that came up with a sports beef that we did not know was brewing, but it's 2 famous people who you definitely know. One is Landon Donovan. You guys all know Landon Donovan. He's an American hero, U.S. men's soccer star. Here he is on Fox praising Cristiano Ronaldo because he's representing his country who's playing in the Gold Cup. Nope. Manny, not the Gold Cup.
No. Portugal just finished playing in the UEFA Nations League.
UEFA Nations League. Gold Cup will come into it in a moment, but him praising Cristiano Ronaldo for playing for his country despite coming off of a long season.
And I can't help but think, and I said this in the beginning of the show, this is what it means to represent your country. Correct. This is what it means. And if you don't want to take this as a professional soccer player and someone who gets the opportunity to wear that jersey and take it seriously and responsibly, then don't come in. This is what it means.
Okay, so who is Landon Donovan talking about here? He's praising Ronaldo, but there's a reason, because now the flip side, he's going to slam Christian Pulisic, of course, our very famous current soccer star in this country, because he's sitting out the Gold Cup.
He's 40 years old. He's played a long-ass season. He's tired. He's out there grinding, hurt himself in the process, and I can't help but think about some of our guys who are on vacation right now not wanting to play in the Gold Cup. This is what it's pissing me off.
Okay, so there, he's talking about Ronaldo's 40. He's still playing and representing his country. And then Pulisic is famously not playing in the Gold Cup, along with 2 other guys.
Can I put in my half ignorant take here?
Sure.
Yeah, what are you doing, Pulisic? Get out there for America.
Well, I'm glad.
America.
I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yeah, because I've only got half the story, and I'm all in.
Okay, we've drawn you in now. So now you just want to rail against Hershey, Pennsylvania's
spot the line, Landon Donovan.
Christian
Right.
Pulisic, playing for AC Milan, I believe, right?
Yes, Christian, yes.
So-
AC Milan.
Thank you. The man wearing the
Air
soccer
conditioning
jersey
Milan.
God, we're good at sports around here, aren't we? Okay, so that's what's the setup. Now, enter Pulisic's dad, who went to social media in a clever way asking ChatGPT, why did Landon Donovan, the star who's calling out his son, why did he take himself out of the 2012-2013 competition, I believe, which was right before the World Cup? Why did he take himself out of competition? And ChatGPT said, well, Landon Donovan was exhausted because he had a grind of long seasons and playing soccer and having so much pressure on you. He needed a break, and ultimately it helped him in the long run. The dad posted that on social media.
The Mexican soccer fan in me is so happy about this.
Yeah, I know. There's a big rivalry here between Mexico and the U.S. But here's the thing. So that's what the dad posted. Pulisic liked it. So essentially, it's Landon Donovan v. Christian Pulisic and his dad.
So the ChatGPT, that's actually a true story then?
Yeah, it's a true story. That Donovan took some time off.
And then was very mad that he wasn't put on the team.
Yeah, in the 2014.
Yeah, I do remember that.
They actually made a commercial about it. It was like the Weekend of Greatness for like Foot Locker or something like that. And he was in a commercial with James Harden. How do you you didn't make the World Cup team. How do you get past that? I got picked for the World Cup team. He was in denial. Very funny. I'll try to find it.
Okay.
He was too old at that point, right?
No, he kept playing.
Well,
right?
I mean, he kept
that
playing.
point.
But,
He was part of
that,
the Dan Patrick Show universe, and that was a big controversy because the U.S. wanted to go young.
Yeah,
and they screwed him over.
That was the thing. Yeah, I mean, at that point, you had younger players like Josie Altidore and Clint Dempsey that were coming up playing his positions, and he was starting to age out a little bit.
Yeah, I think
they were trying to phase him out a little bit.
Yeah, I always remember as like they screwed him over, and it kind of. Did it cost them because they didn't play well without him?
They did fine without him. They made it to the quarterfinals in 2014. But I mean, that was my take when I was younger. This happened 12 years ago. I was like, wow, the U.S. men's national team is pushing over Landon Donovan.
Yeah,
okay, so I just want to add a little more context here. So this was the dad, Christian Pulisic's dad, not only did this cheeky sort of ChatGPT tell me why Landon Donovan took a sabbatical,
right.
And ChatGPT said he took a sabbatical because he was feeling physically and mentally exhausted after years of intense competition. The caption on the Instagram post from Pulisic's dad, this guy is talking about commitment, look in the mirror, plus grow a pair and call names out, or are you afraid? Next time you want an interview, you will get rejected again. Oof. Tension. And Pulisic liked the post, obviously. So his dad's not like pulling a John Halliburton where all of a sudden Tyrese has to apologize because he's in Giannis's face. This is father and son on the same page here.
And Landon Donovan, by the way, not alone in this critique. I mean, he's kind of the spokesperson now because he's on a mic more than other guys, but he is not alone in ripping Christian Pulisic for the last couple of weeks.
And I completely agree because, I mean, the Gold Cup is probably the second biggest tournament that a U.S. men's national team player will play in. So the fact that he's not, and it's also got this rich history here in North America. This is the Continental Tournament. So the fact that he's not participating in this tournament is actually very
And he's
shocking.
not hurt.
No, he's fine.
No, and the argument against him is that he continued to play full 90-minute games at AC Milan when their season was basically over. They were not playing for anything else. They're a coaching change. There were no more competitions, like nothing. And he just kept playing and playing and playing. And the thought is somebody on his side could have been like, hey, can you cut some minutes back here? Because I have the Gold Cup this summer. Instead, they ran him into the ground.
Because they don't care, right?
I mean, everyone kind of cares because it's all one big-ish community. So, and like players leave and come for international duty, like it's baked into the calendar. So it seems like there could have been a conversation of AC Milan pulling the reins back a little bit so he had something for this summer.
Can I just make another half-informed opinion?
Sure.
That was still pretty, I understand that argument. That was still a little harsh by Landon. No, like he really shredded him.
Wow, you really flip-flopped on this whole thing.
Yeah.
No.
I'm still
why is Pulisic playing?
I'm
It's
still
like,
at Team Landon, but
Landon.
I actually think his tone surprises me. Like that was really all in on this topic. I thought,
what's harsher, the words or saying to grow a pair and call us out by name and you're never getting an interview?
Yeah, well, I think they were responding to Landon's harshness. Like Landon could make that criticism without making it sounded kind of personal almost, which is interesting.
Well, when he said you're on vacation, right? That's not you're healing, you're trying to decompress. It's like when you say you're on vacation, what's the first thing? On a beach, pina colada in your hand.
Not doing a damn thing.
Right.
Yeah.
But can I tell you, bigger picture, like there's only one person I want to hear talk about this issue now. I want to hear what Landon Donovan has to say. He's got it's Fox, right?
Yep.
A Fox mic in front of him. Like you got to say something. Otherwise, what are you doing there? So I totally get this. Is it possible that he is being performative as a broadcaster?
Well, I just wonder, he's a legend in soccer, Landon Donovan, but maybe he is the wrong guy to be making this critique considering he had this in his past. Now, he's given a lot to U.S. soccer, though. So you could say he's on a perch. Like we're doing Mount Olympus, 4 sports gods of every major city. Today we're doing Atlanta. If you're talking about sports gods of U.S. soccer, Landon Donovan is on that list.
But you could also argue he's the right guy because who else are we going to listen to?
Well, Lexi Lawless was also critical. What if Clint Dempsey?
Clint Dempsey is probably the guy.
Yeah.
Alexi Lawless's opinion.
Yeah, but I was just saying, let's not bring in the Alexi Lawless thing right now because that's a whole other can of worms.
Yeah, that dude was firing from the hip.
I love it. Taylor Twellman, good
Always
guy.
has.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I think Landon Donovan has always kind of gotten attention. So I think he would be the natural spokesperson.
I guess my question, though, is it's a challenge to some of these former athletes that come on and talk about these current athletes. I would prefer if instead of just shredding guys, how about use your experience that clearly could highlight a hypocrisy to say why you feel this way. Because Landon just
I'm gonna knock your ass out.
Landon just coming out just saying like, oh, you're taking a vacation, like when you literally took a year off so that you could then play in the World Cup and it didn't work out for you. Maybe say, hey, you know what? When I took a year off, I thought it was to rest and get better, but it turned out it actually didn't allow me to play for the World Cup team, and I regretted that.
Yeah.
It's just like, to me, like it takes one Google search to figure out that this guy did the exact same thing. And I think for these current athletes, when they hear these former athletes shred them, that's the problem. They feel like there's a lot of hypocrisy in there. These current former athletes know what these guys are going through, and they go on TV and they're giving us probably only 30 to 40% of the real story.
But real quick, the only thing that I have to push back against on that one is that Landon Donovan was at an age in the 2014 World Cup where he was not going to make the roster. Christian Pulisic is going to be playing in the World Cup next season.
Yeah.
Right.
No matter what.
So there's no consequence. Like, it's not the same as what Landon Donovan did.
No, I wouldn't say so. No, and again, Landon Donovan was pushing 30 plus when the 2014 World Cup rolled around. Christian is still going to be in his late 20s. So I don't think
that's not why Donovan didn't make the team. That had nothing to do with it. That he took that time off.
Well, I mean, there has to be a factor that goes into that decision as well.
But
yeah, that was
actually
a factor.
I remember we followed that thing really closely. There was a lot going on there. There were two camps, like one team wanted, like it was a big deal. It was 33, I think, at the time.
Well, what about to EJ's point, which is just we see this now a little bit with the former athletes calling out the current ones. And in some ways that does seem a little bit harsh. I mean, we talked about this inside the NBA and TNT, and people love
police. Chris Paul trying to beat me up.
People love that show because it's so unfiltered, but the current players think that the old heads are being too harsh.
Well, I think EJ could work for ESPN NBA's coverage and could just say things that go into the void that no one on earth cares about. Because why are they on TV if they're not going to be harsh? Like, there's a camera and a microphone just to be nice. Like, nobody wants to watch that.
But what about fair?
Again, TV, microphone, Maggie. What about fair?
Oh, so it's all performative then.
It's entertaining. Like, no sports fan wants to hear a guy be like some thoughtful take and a nice guy. Like, that's ESPN's coverage. Like, that's
ESPN
boring.
thoughtful?
Yeah, nobody wants that crap. They want to see Stephen A. yell at people. But they want to see harsh takes because that's what we do as sports fans. Nobody said, when the Knicks lost, did you have some nice, thoughtful takes on it? No, you were screaming at the TV. That's how we consume sports. We're very emotional. We react. We don't have nice, thoughtful takes.
So can I bring up something else? Because this is going to be front and center now in a very interesting way.
You don't want to make an enemy out of me.
Because you know who is coming to NBC, and it's not Stephen A., shockingly, because he has every other job in media. Good for you. But it's Michael Jordan. And I think that people are I'm very interested. I'll just speak for myself. I'm very interested of how critical Jordan's going to be because Stephen A. is out here talking about you. If you talk to Michael behind the scenes, he will shred guys and he will this, that. Is he going to get on TV and actually give us the full MJ, or is he going to be nice?
If I'm the producer and he doesn't give you the full mean MJ, then I'm cutting the deal after a year. Like, nobody wants a boring MJ. Like, he better be harsh. As a fan, I demand that. Does anyone here not want to see MJ kill people? That's the whole point.
But harsh, for what? Like, I don't know.
To entertain us.
No, I feel like that's cruelty for cruelty's sake. Like, if there's great play happening, tell me why they're great. I don't need you to just go be like, hey, that third guy on the Pacers sucks. Like, I don't. That doesn't do anything for me. Like, if Halliburton is doing something spectacular, as much as I can't stand him, tell me why he's doing something that's spectacular.
Like, why would you want to see that? That sounds so boring.
Well, because a lot of people just said he was overrated. And then he's going out there and he's playing and he's hitting these shots, breaking my heart as a Knicks fan. Maybe explain to fans why he's not overrated. Because people seem to think that he is. There's so much disconnect that happens, I think, for a lot of these current athletes. I think that's the problem they have. They feel like people don't understand what they're watching.
Well, there's going to be an interesting part where we started this conversation about a hypocrisy of Landon Donovan calling out Christian Pulisic for not playing in the Gold Cup, even though Landon took a sabbatical. And Landon and Pulisic's camp was more than eager to point that out right away on social media. What does Michael Jordan say about the older players at the end of their careers? Like, are we just going to all ignore, what does he say about Paul George? What does he say about Joel Embiid? What's he going to say about guys who at the end, it's one thing about the peak. The peak is fine. We talk about.
Joel Embiid, by the way, is 31, but go ahead.
Plays like he's 41.
He's got 41-year-old knees.
I'm just curious, does actually Jordan acknowledge the Wizards at all? And I'm not saying he was terrible at the Wizards. We kind of it wasn't 98 Bulls, but it wasn't also the worst thing we've ever seen in the world. They didn't make the playoffs. They weren't very good. but he wasn't an embarrassment. But I'm just curious, do we get Michael Jordan the hypocrite?
Wait, Michael Jordan, the businessman, played for the Washington Wizards?
Believe it or not.
I see what you're saying, but again, I would prefer him to be totally unfiltered and negative. I'm sorry, because I think that's who he is. I kind of like the guy sitting drinking scotch and ripping everybody.
Right.
That poor guy that was on the Washington Wizards. I can't remember his name. 45, like some nobody's like just shredding the Sonics. He's like, they weren't even hard to beat in the finals. That's who I want.
Oh, the guy who had the audacity to say "Good game, Mike."
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like you guys are such hypocrites too. Because Tom Brady came out and said nothing but nice things, and like you were all saying he was boring.
Well, he was also on game. First of all, I thought that Brady was one and done with broadcasting, and I got to dress up like a member of the Black Hole because of that dumb bet. Oh,
but
where am I going to get the silver paint?
I like late career Troy Aikman, who just shreds everybody pot. Like, oh my God, he kills every single player on the field. Yeah, I think
Troy come off unfair. I don't think he.
I don't care about it unfair. Like entertaining. If you're a TV producer, EJ, you got to make it entertaining. And this nice guy broadcaster will not work.
Who's the TV producer that's going to get in Michael Jordan's ear and going to be like, "Can you press a little more on this?" Maybe 888-710-4ISN. EJ going to get in Mike's ear and be like, "Got to go harder. Go after him."
I think Michael's inclination, even without a producer in his ear, is to denigrate other players. It's like how he's wired. Don't you kind of expect that? I can't see him going out there and supporting guys. To me, doesn't seem like his character.
Yeah, well, obviously what he says, if anything, about LeBron is going to be the number one thing. He's even somewhat critical about James.
He'll probably try to be nice as hard as he can, but I don't know if he's going to achieve that.
Top of the hour, we will do the Mount Olympus of Maggie and Perloff. Our tour continues, the 4 sports gods of every great sports city in this country. Today, Atlanta is front and center. Coming up next, Aaron Rodgers resurfaces. We'll tell you all about that next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Let's talk about what happened this summer.
Sure, man. It was sick.
Really? After they left you off the national team?
Come on, man. What are you talking about?
Oh, I get it. You got one of those short memories, like all the greats.
James, they can't cut me. I'm the captain. Like they'd ever cut me. I'm the captain.
It's gonna be a good day with Maggie and Perloff.
Wow.
Man, he dug up
Lando.
this Foot Locker commercial.
Foot Locker Week of Greatness commercial. That's right.
And so he did get cut from the team.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't a part of the 2014 World Cup, and that was made after the 2014 World Cup.
Man, what a weird commercial. Also, are they the two worst actors alive?
James Harden and Landon Donovan?
Oh, my God. We were just giving all this praise to Landon Donovan. Perloff was like, wow, I like him as a commentator. He's really, he and Christian Pulisic are now in a big fight.
I thought that was really funny. I didn't think that was bad acting. I love his California accent, too.
I like it, too.
Oh, really?
Land's like a Mr. Surfer guy.
No, James Harden, I thought, was really stiff.
No, James Harden was awful in this commercial.
As usual.
There's a visual that goes along with this. He looks awful. Landon Donovan, rather comedic, because he also like flails his arms like, I'm the captain. They can't cut me.
He's also so much shorter than James Harden. It's so funny.
By the way, it's kind of insane that he said that. Like, he's taking it so lightly. Like,
yeah. They
imagine pitching that ad. It's like, all right, Landon, here's
what
you're gonna do. Here's the idea.
Remember when you didn't make one of your achievements, one of your life goals and career achievements? Let's make a joke out of it.
Cool. Well, we're going to wait for round 3, I guess, of Landon Donovan v. Christian Pulisic and his dad, because it's getting pretty ugly, especially on social media. Andrew Bogish is here with all the latest headlines. What's up?
Have you guys mentioned, by the way, the ultimate commercial pitch that's going on right now?
No.
I'm
the captain.
The guy that stood up at Dr. Squatch and suggested making Sydney Sweeney bathwater soap.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Anything you just said right now.
This didn't come across your timeline?
So
I'm first in queue for purchasing this.
Yeah. So Dr. Squatch, like Sasquatch, is a brand that I actually use. I love their
soap.
I love their like it's a men's product. Their soap, a lot of stuff. I love their soap. They sold something that was Sydney Sweeney, and I guess people commented on the video of, oh, she was in a bathtub for the commercial. And there are obviously infinity comments of, I would drink that bathwater.
Well, apparently that bar of soap itself does have droplets of Sydney Sweeney's bathwater.
Right. So because of the original campaign.
You guys sound like this is what people say when they're being questioned by the police.
I know.
Yeah, like an FBI profiler. Exactly.
This is Manny in a back room somewhere being like, but they promised it had drops of her actual bathwater in it.
So the original campaign led to somebody going, hey, what if we actually did sell her bathwater? And now they have a bar of soap that has, I don't know what, 0.00, I don't know how they got it, but they say it has her bathwater in the soap and you can buy it.
I am first in queue.
Wait, it's like essence of sweet
Yeah,
Sydney?
but imagine being the guy that raises their hand and go, we could actually do this. Like, you're either getting fired or you're the new CEO.
Wait. You stare at women who are breastfeeding?
Oh, yeah, big
you
time.
creep.
She's like, I guess, does she sit in a bath and they siphon out the water?
So obviously she's getting paid for this.
Well,
I would
of course,
imagine
yeah.
handsomely. So she sits in a...
Well,
wait
I
a
would hope
minute.
so. Unless some guy sneaks in and takes the bathwater, yeah.
No, it's like Sydney with an eye.
No, it is her. Double Y's.
Oh, boy.
I feel like there's a missed opportunity, by the way, to get Kevin Durant involved because he had the most famous bathwater tweet ever.
Mm-hmm.
Don't ruin this.
Scarlett Johansson,
Yeah.
I will drink your bathwater.
That's a real Kevin Durant tweet.
He sent that in 2014, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe 2013, early days of Twitter. Scarlett Johansson, I will drink your bathwater, #random. And I would too. I retweeted it.
That actually does sound like
Colin
Katie.
Jost. You think Colin Jost has?
You think he drinks his wife's bathwater? You think that's the key to a great relationship? That's healthy?
I'm not in one. You guys tell me. You guys tell me. I don't know.
Oh, my God.
You guys are into Sydney Sweeney?
Isn't this something, not to get to the OnlyFans, but isn't this something like a scam that people run online? Like, hey, I'll send you my underwear for
or I'll
that
fart
kind
in
of
a jar. You can use
I'll fart. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
I'll fart in a jar.
But that wasn't
what a
Sydney
scam.
What a lady that was.
Seems classy.
I mean, she's laughing, ha, 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 all the way to the bank,
No,
I think.
didn't she go to the hospital
No.
once? She like made herself sick by trying to create gas.
Oh, no.
Yeah, like she pulled a muscle or something.
She got a hernia.
A lot of Chipotle.
Oh, no. Oh, this is all so horrible. But I guess if Sydney Sweeney's making money off of it, it just seems this is a new level of engagement with celebrities, no?
And I'm open to a lot of things that I think it's a terrible thing.
Man, open up more.
It's gross.
Was this a rumor about Gwyneth Paltrow had some kind of candle that smelled like her? Was that always fake?
Yep.
I think it was Gwyneth Paltrow, yeah.
But that was a fake story, right?
I don't know. Gwyneth Paltrow's got that brand that makes billions off of.
Yeah, no, Goop. That's the stuff that gets...
Yeah. That doesn't sound so fake. Essence
I
of-
still
No,
can't
this
tell if it's fake.
particular thing.
Yeah,
could have
I
been
kind of
fake.
remember that.
Yeah.
But actually, if you read her actual products, they're not that far off.
I still can't tell if it's fake. I'm sorry. Now I've spent too much time on it. Between yesterday with the Tiana Trump
Very
search
familiar
that
with her
I
body
did.
of work.
Yes. And now I'm...
Seems like the internet was, by the way, too. A lot of people like those videos.
You guys just discovered her. I've known her for a minute.
Yeah, I mean,
Manny was there in 2014,
Yeah,
just like he was in
minute,
Kevin
though.
Durant's tweet
Yeah.
about Scarlett Johansson's bathwater.
Again, I want to defend myself. A gorgeous woman is half naked with a Halliburton jersey and said, "This is why Tyrese Halliburton tries so hard on the court." I thought it was his girlfriend. Am I an idiot? Now I'm familiar with his girlfriend. That's a whole other thing. She's kind of controversial. Like,
Oh, she is?
I don't know. I feel like everyone around Halliburton's massive trash talkers.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, he letting the people around him do the dirty work. His
Yeah.
dad, girlfriend.
I read
Himself.
a headline about his girlfriend saying something like, "Yeah, like John Halliburton," and there's a lot going on.
Well, I mean, Halliburton himself threw up the choke sign. Obviously, this dude is not shy.
Yeah, and it seems like a perfectly nice guy, which is the funny thing about this. You know, he's sort of an underdog, a no-star recruit, and now he's like Mr. Trash Talk.
When do we get Tyrese Halliburton bathwater?
I don't know.
Are we going to do this for
Too busy.
athletes?
I already
Can the guy
ordered
get
the
one voice
Tiana
first?
Trump bathwater.
That's probably out there, to be
I
honest.
was going to say, does it smell like lube? I don't know what to say. I'm not saying anything.
You said
just
it.
did.
I'm thinking about
Mics are on.
collaborations. I'm thinking about crossover,
Oh,
synergy.
the business mind is
Yes.
going. T-shirts.
Slump busters.
Yeah.
To be honest, it all mixes in.
Yeah, Jay Jones, Halliburton's girlfriend, is in a tense war with fans on social media.
That's going to end well. Okay, folks, Dynamite update.
Sports.
Coming up, the Mount Olympus project continues. The 4 sports gods of every great city in this country and parts of Canada. Today, let's go to Atlanta, baby.
I'm the captain.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Well, one of the most dramatic quarterback situations we have in the NFL. No, not Cleveland Browns, although that's pretty juicy. Atlanta Falcons. It got ugly between Kirk Cousins and the Falcons. Meanwhile, their mandatory minicamp opens today. Perloff, good morning. Cousins going to be there. He's going to be a backup, but I don't think anyone believes that he's long for Atlanta, no?
Well, yeah, I don't know, because Jeremy Fowler at ESPN said the trade market is totally dried up. So where's it going to go? You're waiting on an injury. Why would anyone pay for Kirk Cousins now? Everybody's got a starter, except for sort of Cleveland, which doesn't want another old guy in the building. So I'm not sure I see any other alternative. He's going to be in Atlanta. He's going to be there today, right? Will he take reps is a question. Will they put him out on the field? I say if he takes reps, he's the backup quarterback.
I would not if I were him. I mean, you're coming off the Achilles, plus he had another injury that he didn't tell anybody about, and that led to some tension at the end of last year. And so if you are going to hold out any hope that you could actually trade him for a team that maybe quarterback gets hurt and you need to offload him, you can't have him out there practicing. You can't risk he's going to get hurt again.
Yeah, he's already under contract. I don't think he's going to lose any money. So I think he'd rather play and showcase his arm and show teams he's healthy. It's not a situation where you would not get on the field because you're worried about losing money. First of all, he's made more money than any player almost ever, except for Aaron Rodgers. So he's fine. I would get out there and toss it around. But can't you see a scenario where he's the backup quarterback and it's the NFL? The backup quarterback often gets play. Michael Penix has 2 arthritic knees at 24. I think this is a perfectly fine fit. If I looked around the team, who needs a better backup quarterback than Atlanta? There's only a few teams.
I think Indianapolis. I'm actually surprised.
They have 2 quarterbacks that are already making. They have a number 4 pick and a $14 million a year quarterback.
Yeah, and the number 4 overall pick is hurt now, and we don't know what's going to happen with Anthony Richardson. This could just go down as one of the great draft busts. I mean, he has all this tantalizing potential, but you said it before. He can complete a 40-yard pass, but can't complete a 4-yard pass. What would you, and can you? Can you teach that? I don't know. There's something that's obviously the issue is he needs reps and he's not getting them because he keeps getting hurt. And then Daniel Jones, a $14 million quarterback who also has a history of getting hurt all the time.
But you got to get those guys on the field. I mean, you have to. You just pay Daniel Jones a lot of money. You can't just not play him. Bring in Cousins, and you can't have a $15 million a year third-string quarterback. So.
Well, are you trying to save your job? Or are you trying to go down with the ship? Or what's the real?
Oh no, you have to do what's right for the team. You have to play Anthony Richardson this year. Like you can't.
What if he's not healthy?
Put
him out there anyway.
I don't think there's any indication he's going to miss the whole season.
I think he comes back. You're just waiting for the next injury. Is how I would be feeling. 888-710-4. I said yes.
He just turned 23. He's younger than Shador. He's definitely younger than Cam Ward. Like, you got to give this guy a chance. They have to use this as a tryout year. I don't care if you're coaching for your job. If he's healthy, he's out there. Otherwise, what's the point?
We're looking at other vulnerable quarterback rooms around the NFL. Miami is another one that comes to mind. Obviously, they're paying Tua a lot of money, but Tua
that would be impossible.
Not been healthy enough in his own right.
They can't imagine having an $85 million a year quarterback room with Tua Tagovailoa and Kirk Cousins.
Listen, you're trying to coach for your job. You got to do something crazy.
I don't know how the money would work out because that's part of the trade negotiations, but that could end up being by far the most expensive quarterback room in the league. And what do you have? Do you have that much there?
Well, you have maybe a shot at making the playoffs, and maybe winning a playoff game, and that would be better than anything Miami's done in 25 years.
Yeah, I would almost rather go the tank route than kill my cap for the next 5 years to have 2 brittle quarterbacks. One's coming off an Achilles. Kirk's coming off an Achilles. Let's not forget that. Keep him in Atlanta, Meg. What's wrong with the solution? He's Kirk Cousins. What's he going to do? Is he going to be a pain in the neck in the locker room? Is he going to not pick up guys in his minivan? Like, what is the downside here?
You got to walk. I'll tell you what. I think that it's got a lot a lot uglier, I think, behind the scenes than, Kirk kind of puts on. Maybe he doesn't put it on. Maybe it's the real him. This sort of like, oh, shucks, I'm just so happy and excited to be here. That's not exactly how this went down. He was ticked off at the draft. And I think some people understood. Some people thought he was being a diva. They signed you a $100 million deal, and then they fell in love with Michael Penix, and he didn't handle it that great. He got really in his feelings about it. And then I think the fan base was kind of upset that he didn't tell anybody that he was hurt. And so he's out there and he's playing like crap, and nobody's really understanding why. And then he gets benched and gets kind of, ticked off about it. And he's like, well, actually, I was hurt the whole time. I don't know. Is that really comporting yourself in a great way as you're supposed to be the face of the franchise as the quarterback?
He's the backup quarterback.
Well, not at that point. At that point, he was the starter.
I mean, right. But I generally, it doesn't matter. I don't think Kirk's I think the real problem is, do the Atlanta Falcons know what they're doing? And I think the early, that trade in the back of the first round for James Pierce Jr. was shocking to the NFL. They traded next year's first round pick to get up to 27 to draft a defensive end that obviously was quite polarizing in the draft process. So I don't know that Terry Fontenot, the GM, has a clue, to be honest. And I don't even think that's a hot take. Like, they do not have good evidence that they know how to team build.
So Terry Fontenot probably not landing as a sports god in the city of Atlanta. And that's where we get to the Mount Olympus.
It's time to feast your ears on Maggie and Perloff's Mount Olympus.
4 sports gods of all the great sports cities in this country. Yesterday was Los Angeles. That was a doozy. I still feel like a puncher that was like knocked out from that conversation yesterday. That was really hard. Atlanta, I thought, was also very challenging.
Yeah.
Atlanta got to get to peg Pearl as like not this great sports city. I think that's unfair. There are so many possible sports gods. Curious who you went with.
Yeah. Well, actually, why don't you get us started? Okay. Because I've been taking the first stab. Why did you give us your 4, Maggie?
Fantastic. I love my Mount Olympus here, so I hope you guys do too. First up on my list,
we'll let the poll decide that.
No. It's Dominique. Dominique Wilkins, statue. I know he didn't win. To me, there's going to be actually a few gods on this Mount Olympus of Atlanta who did not win, and I don't think that takes them down any pegs. I don't. Dominique is still the face of basketball in Atlanta. That's not ISO Joe Jesus. It's not Trae Young. It's still Dominique. He still does the games. He's such a huge fixture. He participated in some of the greatest games in the history of the NBA, Hawks versus Celtics. All-time games and obviously dunk competitions. Dominique is a sports god in Atlanta. My second sports god is Michael Vick. 6 years, actually, for Vick. Number 1 overall pick. I think Michael Vick, even more than Matt Ryan, who is not on my list of sports gods. I know Matt Ryan won an MVP, and I know that he went to the Super Bowl. And had he won that Super Bowl, maybe we're having a different conversation. He lost it in a way that is still devastating for Falcons fans. You just don't recover from choking away the biggest lead ever in a Super Bowl.
Why is Matt Ryan taking shrapnel here? What did he do?
Well, I'm just saying Michael Vick, despite not getting to a Super Bowl. And by the way, Michael Vick, I looked up his playoff record, 2-4. Like, it's not a great postseason track record. I still think he's a sports god. Lefty, got a black quarterback in Atlanta. What that means to the community, I think Michael Vick continues to be a sports god. My third sports god.
To have a left-handed quarterback in Atlanta, it's a big deal for the left-handed community in Atlanta, too.
They're underserved, and I want to make sure they got a shout out, the left-handed community. A lot of Braves to pick. It's painful as a Mets fan, too, because I got a lot of nightmare fuel from the Atlanta Braves.
How come?
Past, present, and likely future. Greg Maddux emerges as a sports god in Atlanta because, Pearl, people like to lump together, oh, it was Maddux, Glavine, and Smoltz. It was Maddux. He's got the 4 Cy Youngs. I know he doesn't have the versatility of Smoltz, and I understand that Glavine is, I think, maybe a bigger picture in the community right now. Maddux was the magician. He was the one you could not figure out how he did it. Threw a complete game in the World Series when they won in 95. Maddux, to me, always... The pecking order of those 3 guys to me was Maddux, Glavine, Smoltz. They're all Hall of Famers. Maddux, to me, top of the mountain. He gets us the sports god of Atlanta for the Braves. And then finally, I'm going with Deion. Because think about Deion Sanders in Atlanta. Playing for the Falcons and the Braves at the same time. It doesn't get more entrenched than that. You're a two-sport athlete in the same city. Now, Deion wasn't there for a long time, right, on either team. And obviously, Deion, Cowboys and San Francisco, and he was a mercenary a little bit. But his impact in Atlanta and playing both of those sports is something that will never be replicated ever again. And he earns a spot as a sports god in the city of Atlanta. So, again, I've got Dominique Wilkins, Michael Vick, Greg Maddux, and Deion Sanders.
And let's not forget Shiloh.
Shiloh may make the list in 2050.
Okay. You got some right and you got some wrong. And by the way, Smoltz postseason records, let's not forget that.
Yeah.
But let's not forget Shiloh. Okay. I agree on Dominique Wilkins. As a young Andrew Perloff used to reenact his dunk contest moves all the time, and on the little rim that you jammed into the door. Did you guys have those?
Of course, yeah. Come on.
I was a gigantic Neek fan, and to me, winning the slam dunk contest is right there with the NBA championship back in the day. So Neek, obvious. Okay, and then I also agreed with you on Michael Vick.
Really?
Yeah,
I thought you'd be a Matt Ryan guy because he's from Philly or whatever.
Well, Matt Ryan was great, but a bit of a system guy. And Matt Ryan, if he'd won that Super Bowl, I would have given to Matt Ryan. The other thing, I couldn't decide between Julio Jones, who's one of my favorite players of all time, and Matt Ryan. And Julio Jones, obviously a better player, surefire Hall of Famer. Matt Ryan, borderline Hall of Famer. I think he might make it in. But so I honestly couldn't decide. I'm like, you know what? Let's just go Vic. Actually, EJ helped me out with that one. We were going through the list yesterday. I'm using EJ as a
You're
cheat
getting
code.
EJ as a cheat code?
Sorry.
Get out of here.
I said that at the beginning, that we can use EJ as a sounding board, and you ignored me.
No.
Okay. Okay, then my
Just
third
doing some
pick.
consulting. No, nothing serious.
Yeah, how much are you charging an hour?
You
should be a lot more than you are.
I went with Hank Aaron.
Jordan Hudson. He's winning all the time, too.
Jordan Hudson rates.
Yeah. Oh, Jesus. I went with Hank Aaron because I respect baseball history, unlike you, and he did hit the record home run. And Craig Sager was there, and Tom House caught it in the outfield, and he did play many, many years in Atlanta. So it was tough. I understand what you're saying. Great argument that he did a lot in Milwaukee, too. By the way, I wanted to put Warren Spahn, one of the great all-time Braves. Apparently, he never made it to Atlanta. Had to look that one up.
Yeah.
He was in Milwaukee, but he was an all-time, also one of the greatest hitting pitchers of all time. So I went with Hank Aaron. And then this was my debate. I was looking at Maddux, but I went with Chipper Jones because I feel like he's a bit of a more iconic Brave. Maddux won a Cy Young in Chicago, played on a bunch of teams. Smoltz and Glavine got lost in the shadow of Maddux. I agree with that, although Smoltz's postseason was incredible. Glavine's postseason was incredible. I think Chipper stood alone. And actually, interesting stat, Chipper had the highest WAR of all four of those players. Chipper was an incredible player. Chipper killed my team. I don't know if he killed yours too. I assume he did.
Yeah.
Chipper Jones, to me, feels like a more Mount Olympus sports god Brave. For some reason, I think of that era of the Braves. The pitchers are all one group, and then there's Chipper and then Andrew too. I'm a big Andrew Jones fan, but Chipper to me got the cut. I did look at Maddux, obviously, and I also did consider Deion, except that I watched this documentary on Deion Sanders the day that he played on both teams. It was the most disappointing documentary ever because he played a football game against Miami. Then he went to the playoff game, and they didn't even put him in the lineup because they were mad at him because he played the football game. So he almost made football history and baseball history, but did not. So Deion just wasn't there long enough for me.
Okay. So say him again. You had Neek, you had Michael Vick.
Hank Aaron, and Chipper Jones.
Okay. You under to Chipper Jones, did he destroy my team? He named his daughter Shea.
Why is that?
After Shea Stadium, where he had a lot of success. So yes,
is
Chipper
that right?
Jones, rent-free, right in my nightmares.
He's Larry to me, Maggie.
I got to tell you, I looked at Trae Young just to annoy you guys, the Knicks fans on the other side of the
Do
glass.
you want to win?
Trae Young,
Unlike
by
him.
the way, is one of those guys whose reputation, and his aura is way bigger than he was as a player. Like, I know he does not belong on this list, but I feel like he's a big deal in Atlanta because he's Trae Young.
So the one person who I think you and I did good lists here. Now you can weigh in at 888-710-4ISN, 4 sports gods in the city of Atlanta. One person, or there were two, very, very different type people. One that this is hard, right? Because we talk about college. And when a college is not exactly in the city that we're doing, how do we handle that, right? We ran into this when we did Portland, Oregon, and having Eugene, and having Corvallis, and with Oregon State.
Which Georgia State player did you throw in here?
Well, how about a little someone many even you may have heard of, even though you weren't alive when he was playing, which is Herschel Walker, who won the Heisman for Georgia in Athens, Georgia, which is about an hour and a half away.
I've heard of him.
So I think Herschel Walker is still a sports god. But again, we're not doing the state of Georgia. We're doing the city of Atlanta. And I think you and I took that kind of very, very literally this time.
Yeah, I feel weird to put Dominique Wilkins, Hank Aaron, Chipper Jones, Michael Vick, and Herschel Walker. But it just doesn't feel right to me for some reason.
Really? Because I think it would fit, though.
But obviously he's a big deal in Georgia. I don't know. It just didn't quite feel right to me.
The other person who I did give a lot of consideration to is Ted Turner. And Ted Turner owning multiple sports teams in Atlanta. Now, people think of Ted Turner, I think, mostly about CNN and creating cable news. And thanks for that, Ted.
Didn't he date somebody very famous as well?
Jane Fonda.
Oh, yes.
They were married.
Yeah.
Huge wrestling guy, too.
Mm-hmm. And Ted Turner, visionary, may rest in peace, visionary and a huge sports figure in Atlanta. I had George Steinbrenner when we did New York. Ted Turner was also a character, but not like Steinbrenner, and not the villain who was like.
Oh,
Turner
yeah.
was,
No, I would say he
really?
villain to a lot of people.
Well, I think he was more like a
Ted
savant.
Turner is very, very polarizing.
No, but Steinbrenner was like a bully, and Ted Turner was a bully.
Ted Turner was a bully in like real realms, not just sports.
Well, I think people more associate him with CNN, with cable news, maybe even more than sports. Even though there's a reason why I think a lot of people in this country are Braves fans, because when you couldn't watch out-of-market baseball games, here were the Atlanta Braves. I know also the White Sox, right? We're also on WGN, but the Braves out there on TNT.
I got the Cubs as a kid.
The Cubs, maybe it was the Cubs.
I got the Braves and the Cubs, not the White Sox.
Yeah, maybe not the White Sox.
It was the Cubs.
But
WGN, pardon.
I don't know if the Braves really took off. My favorite was
I think they did. I think they did.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, the Braves, show me the metrics.
No, I think in the 90s. I think the Braves were.
In TNT?
I think it was because this is what you got.
I feel like the Yankees blew them out of the water in the 90s.
It's the Yankees, but I mean, the Braves had a lot of fans because of that TBS deal.
I know a lot of people saw them, but the Cubs also.
Was?
The Cubs were on national TV too, and I don't know that
the Cubs were awful during that time.
Yeah,
the Braves
were really good.
And they have one World Series to show for it, which would have been like the all-time unrealized potential if that team had never won a World Series, but they did. Okay, 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476.
Where does Jeff Teague rank among these men?
As far as podcasters? These four sports gods of Atlanta.
Hero Antich.
Big Friendly is in California. Friendly, you have a completely different four than me and Perloff. Go ahead.
Good morning, Maggie Malone, EJ the EP, 411, Manny De Niro, and Daddy Cool. Good morning, and thank you for taking my call. No hockey players this morning.
No Teemu Solani?
Hey,
it was a good
Finnish
pick.
Flash was the man. The Finnish Flash was the man.
Ilya Kovalchuk.
You know who played for the Atlanta Flames? The guy, Micah Ruzioni, I think, played there.
Oh, 1980 hero?
Yeah, I think. I got to check that.
Okay,
they
who's
also
your...
the Thrashers, by the way, not the Flames.
The Flames. Well, they moved to Calgary and then became the Flames. I digress.
Okay, Big Friendly, who's on your Mount Olympus of Atlanta?
Okay, here we go. Bobby Jones, Gwen Torres, Coco Gauff, and Jerry Glanville.
I like it. Bobby Jones, I also saw, obviously, the godfather of the Masters.
I thought you were talking about the former 76ers Sixth Man of the Year award winner.
No.
That's what I thought you were talking about, too.
No, I knew who you were talking about.
No, the golf legend.
I actually did not know Coco Gauff was from Atlanta.
I didn't
That's
either.
News to me.
And she is a big part of my drought buster, slump busters argument, considering she was the first American woman to win a French Open singles title in 10 years.
I didn't even realize until I brought it up to you.
Nope.
I digress.
And I was surprised you waited even as long as you did. And Glenn Torres and Jerry Glanville.
Now,
you would really put Glanville over any of the players for the Falcons?
Okay, real quick. Jerry Glanville, when he came to Atlanta, he changed their uniforms to that all-black slick look. He let MC Hammer and all them be part of the Too Legit to Quit movement. And he has the greatest coach soundbite in history. This is not college. This is not a homecoming game. This is the NFL. Stands for not for long. When you make BS calls like that, I'll be selling groceries. Come on now. You don't get no better than JG. Come on now.
All black. I agree. First of all, I'll tell you, there's one better Big Friendly. That was Buddy Ryan.
Bobby
but the
Cox.
two of them. Buddy
Yeah.
Ryan and Jerry Glanville, the two greatest coach characters of all time. I'll give you that.
Yeah, and it's this is the thing, like I said yesterday, about there's going to be more left off than left on. And Jerry Glanville may not be a great in Atlanta, but he's the reason why I had that Deion Sanders Bird of Prey poster in my bedroom. Thank you for taking my call.
Friendly, thank you, sir. Yeah, those was that the Kostakos brothers who did all those famous sports posters? Quickly, Mike's in Syracuse. Mike, you also thought Bobby Jones deserved to be a sports god in Atlanta.
I did. And I'm hoping that you talk to somebody from Atlanta, and I'm hoping that they're older like me. Because I also got another couple names. I definitely wanted to put Neek on. Yeah. Neek definitely deserves, when you look at a Hawks uniform, if it's not number 21 and if it's not Dominique, then I don't know who it is. Maybe Spud Webb if it's a size extra small. But when it came to the Braves, all those Maddox, Clavin, Schmaltz, Chipper Jones, his brother Andrew Jones, they all meld into one. So I took a step back further because whenever I saw the All-Star game, there was only one guy that was representing Atlanta for all those years. And that was Dale Murphy.
Dale Murphy. Yeah. No, he's definitely a legend. Of course.
But isn't Mount Olympus reserved for Hall of Famers?
He should have been.
I know. I love getting people riled up about Dale Murphy not being in the Hall of Fame. Former Philly, by the way.
My fourth is probably why EJ let me on. There's a racetrack there called the Atlanta Motor Speedway. And just north of Atlanta is a small little sleepy town called Dawsonville. Mm-hmm. And that's the hometown of the $1 Million Bill, Awesome Bill from Dawsonville. So if you're in the Southeast and you're not talking motorsports, I don't know who's a sports god.
Mike, thank you. Bill Elliott, of course, it's a great call. I can guarantee that's not why EJ let the call through. If EJ had heard of Bill Elliott, do you know who he is?
Absolutely. You guys don't understand. I got a little NASCAR bag. I was playing NASCAR Thunder 2004 on a GameCube, and Bill Elliott was the guy.
Okay, I stand corrected. We call
Bill
Manny
Elliott,
tires around.
Ryan Newman. I used to play Ryan Newman a bunch.
Yeah, I've interviewed him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know a little bit.
All right. Well, I stand corrected. EJ, big NASCAR guy. You definitely racing and in the South, without a doubt. North Carolina, obviously, if when we do that, well, racing will come into play as well. Quickly want to get, oh God, we got to take a quick break. I see you guys on the phones. Mm-hmm. Let us take a break. You're asking, are we talking to somebody from Atlanta who can lend some expertise? Yes, we absolutely are. He's not old. Like, he's not old. It's Carl Dukes. Put him up. Put up your Dukes. We love Carl. Does afternoons in Atlanta and is one of our great, great friends. So he's going to come on and tell us what we got right, what we got wrong. That will happen in about an hour. See you guys on the phones. The 4 sports gods of the city of Atlanta. Let us know.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Okay. This portion of the show is brought to you by Ethos Life, the easy way to get life insurance in 10 minutes, up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam, just a few health questions. Get your free quote at checkethos.com, not available in all states. Welcome back, Maggie and Perloff Show. By the way, I got that read right. You're making fun of me because I messed up a read the other day. You guys love to make fun of little mistakes more than any group of people I've ever met. And my favorite is that I remember like catalog them when you correct me and you're wrong, like Bogus did with the overtime hockey yesterday.
Oh.
All receipts up here.
I mean, this is the sign that you spend a lot of time with people.
Yeah. I think like you all have coworkers who are mistake correctors. It's a fine line. People seem to love to make fun of me for mistakes. Not just you guys. On Twitter, I have a lot of critics.
A lot of police out there.
A lot of police. But anyway, I was just going to mention that because I was watching hockey last night and my chest was out. I'm like, I am the hockey expert on the Maggie and Perloff show. And I know because Bogues takes that so seriously. He was.
Yes.
He had already. I'd actually. You know how I knew that they went to overtime? Because he had told me like 5 times.
But I told everyone for like 18 times that game 1 went to overtime.
Do you want to enlighten us with anything from last night that you want to specifically say? A lot of fights?
So last night, by the way, I just don't think the series is over. I do think that the Oilers-Panthers series, 2-1 now, I think you are watching this very closely because of your Drought Busters take of the year.
Yeah.
I saw a stat on ESPN that they've won their last 3 series, the Oilers, that they're down 2-1. What? Did you say that too?
He was about to. He's going to do that in the update.
I'm just going to, like last hour, I'm just going to leave.
Don't leave.
Wait, did I miss that? You said that earlier?
No, it was
the top
going,
of the script.
Literally the top of my script that was supposed to be read at 7:30 that didn't because I brought up Sydney Sweeney's bathwater soap.
Fair substitution.
And now you beat me to it, so never mind.
I mean, what's a bigger water cooler conversation? The fact that the Oilers have started 0-2 in the series, or Sydney Sweeney selling parts of her bathwater? What do you think's getting talked about more today in America?
2-1, Maggie.
Sorry, 2-1.
Yeah. Yes, as I correct her. But that being said, Maggie, you came in way too down this morning. You were in the dubs.
Well, I was like, I think one of the biggest stories in sports, if not the biggest story, is whether Connor McDavid's going to win a Stanley Cup. And the fact is, they didn't look good last night. Right. Can we hear the brawls? Because this is how frustrated the Oilers were because they were getting smacked around.
Yeah, sure.
Got a penalty. Frederick just cross-checked Bennett. Broke his stick, and now Bennett's going to get even. That was Greer and Nurse. You're just going to start seeing 10-minute misconducts getting handed out.
It was a full-on brawl. I mean, I don't know how guys even have energy to fight at this point.
Well, young Sophia had all the energy to watch it.
Oh, yeah. Let's hear from Sophia, the young Panther fan who's out for blood, apparently.
Sophia, what is your favorite part of Panthers game?
The fighting.
The fighting. Okay, so now I have to ask you, now that it has become the big story from this game, what did you think about the fighting, especially in that third period?
It was really good, and I really liked how they punched each other a lot.
Now, did you feel like the Panthers won the fight in addition to the game?
Yeah, probably, yeah.
So do you want to be our local 10 fighting hockey expert?
Yes.
I need to see something bloody.
Did this happen in a Sabres game in 91 with you?
I love Rob Ray. Future Florida woman right there. I love when they punch each other in the face. There's a proud dad off camera. I have no sympathy for men. Elbow Kyle Filipowski.
Well, kind of my point was, though, Maggie came in this morning. There is nothing that disgusts you more as a sports fan than getting out-toughed in a game, a must-win game. Like that, that Buffalo Bill fan in you.
I didn't like the effort last night from
you
from
did not
Edmonton.
like to see the team you're rooting for get out-toughed. That kind of hurt.
I mean, it's the Stanley Cup final. What are we doing here? You lost in 7 games last year. You got to get your heads out of your rear ends.
Could that have been a young Maggie wearing Bills colors?
I said that, actually, after they lost to the Giants. Okay, we are doing the Mount Rushmore of the 4 sports gods of Atlanta. You guys want to bring up all the times the Bills failed? Yeah, I'm going to think about alcohol. Some things I don't
Ladies
remember
and gentlemen,
saying.
I present Maggie Gray.
Some things I don't remember saying. That one I do. We'll get back to the Atlanta sports gods in a minute. Andrew Bogusch has a very important headlines for us with very important statistics about the Oilers.
Pearl took all my good material, so here we go, guys. This is what I got for you. 6'1", Caitlin Clark, 5'4", 8'4", 10'8". Back to you.
Oh, you can't protest.
I'm not.
Do you know where Coco Gauff's from?
Apparently from Atlanta. So the good news is, as Perloff has already shared, the last 3 times the Oilers have been down 2-1 in a series, they've recovered to win that series. They're down 2-1 after losing last night 6-1 in Florida. And speaking of their lack of effort, here's Connor McDavid, Maggie, telling you the good effort is coming eventually.
I don't think our best has shown up all series long, but it's coming.
Better come by Thursday. That's game 4.
I can already tell Maggie didn't like that quote.
I was like, are you knocking over a soda machine or what?
Yeah.
You know, you can say whatever you need to the media, but we know what he's like behind the scenes because some of that video came out that he's actually like a real hard ass, which I really respect and love. There's more on the line for him than any of these guys.
I'm the captain.
I'm sorry, not to bring it back to Maggie, but I love that you think you're a nice person and you're a total savage.
Savage?
For the record, you're a savage.
I think I'm nice?
Well, sometimes you think you're relatively nice. Then we play a soundbite of you on the show. You're like, that was me? I'm like, yeah, that was you.
There's 2 things about me. One, I don't know where the line is, and the casual use of the dump button is very much aware of that, and or EJ's aware of that. And I don't know where the line is, and I don't know if I'm a good person. Big butts matter.
Yeah. I
don't know if I'm a good person. Is a heavy sentence.
I think I'm good to you guys. I think I'm a good friend.
By the way, you're easily the best person in this room.
Am I a good sports fan?
Like if somebody has like something going on at home, Maggie's the most empathetic, I would say. Definitely.
Why are you guys such nerds?
But she does root for violence.
Oh, yeah. That's a Western New Yorker. What do you expect?
The winters are long, they're cold, and they're
She was
dark, and
raised-
they're gray, and they're
Think about
depressing.
She was raised in a lab to be like this.
Yeah.
Well, she has no choice.
EJ, what's the line from Bane?
Yes. You merely adopted the darkness. I was molded by it.
Yeah.
Raised by it.
Born
I
in
didn't
it.
see any
Yeah.
light until I was a man. It was blinding.
Now, Peter Schwartz is a better. Sorry, guys.
I was born into the darkness. Literally, there's no sun where I'm from. Most cloudy days in America.
Give a little love into your body, Macarena.
Back to you, folks.
Caitlin Clark remains out with her quad strain. Tonight will be the 5th game she misses, but the Fever said yesterday Clark is ramping up her on-court activity. She is taking part in some portions of practice now, but her actual return date remains unclear.
Sorry, one quick thing. Peter Schwartz did the other day on Twitter, who sometimes does updates, did a Ask Me Anything. He goes, I have 20 minutes to kill. Ask me anything. Like 2 random questions.
That's not my fault.
By the way, how do you know? Because I've seen that other people, and I'm wondering, like, is anyone going to ask them anything? When do you know you're in the safe space to do that, and you're going to get a legitimate number of questions?
Pico de Goyo.
Now I got to know what the question is.
Because I don't think I'd get any, and I've never done it because I have no trust in anyone asking me something in those situations.
I think you had to be famous to do an Ask Me Anything.
You would definitely get questions.
I don't think so.
Yeah, my girth is rather large.
Bogues, yeah.
How large? Is that the question? Is that the first obvious one?
Tequila.
I've never had the confidence to do an Ask Me Anything.
But you'd get answers. You'd get questions.
You'd get tons of questions.
Yeah, they'd all be
About
like
Sandler.
Dan Patrick Show.
Yeah, it's Sandler.
Your mouth to God's lips.
I always get, why'd you leave the Dan Patrick Show? I'm like,
Why
have
did you
seen
leave,
it?
by the way? Now that we're on it.
Everyone knows. It's on the record all over the place. The commute was too long.
That's how we got him, guys. Eagle landed.
Bro, what are you doing here?
Was a hell of a commute for you.
Well, then congestion pricing came to New York City, and then
backfired.
No, are you kidding me? Maggie Gray calls. You answer that call.
Or she'll stab you.
Yeah. I was afraid not to come.
She hasn't seen sunlight in 10 years.
Yeah.
But you think I had a choice?
Right, it's more of a demand. We're doing a radio show.
Yeah.
I know. When I show up with a weapon, it's kind of hard to say goodbye. Yeah.
Andrew, my old friend, do you want to come join me for a radio show?
Ignore that I have a baseball bat in my hand.
Oh, I hate Kathy Hochul. Inside joke.
Speaking of baseball, there were 9 games on the schedule last night. 5 of them needed more than 9 innings.
I'd like to see his splits.
In St. Louis, the Cardinals were down 3-0 entering the bottom of the 8th. They scored 4 times, only to give up the tying run top 9 and then lose in 10.
Is 1-1. Swing and a fly ball. Deep left field. Going back Nootbaar. It's over his head and off the base of the wall. Barger had to wait. He'll come around third and in to score. Kirk into second with an RBI double. It's 5-4 Blue Jays.
And that would be the final over the Cards. Alejandro Kirk's RBI double, his 4th hit of the night.
Big win for the Mexicans.
Arizona dumps Seattle in 11-8-4 on Josh Naylor's grand slam. And the Rays outlasted the Red Sox 10-8 and 11 at Fenway, the tie-breaking run courtesy of a bases-loaded walk.
If you haven't seen Josh Naylor's grand slam, go watch it. He tanked that.
And I think he did another helmetless headbutt, too, afterwards.
Oh, that's smart.
Yeah. Boston's top prospect, we already mentioned this, Roman Anthony made his debut last night, 0 for 4, a walk, an RBI, and an error in the outfield.
PU.
And Formula One announced its 2026 schedule while we were sleeping. Once again, they're at a maximum of 24 races starting in Australia March 8th. Of significance, the Canadian Grand Prix is now the Saturday of Memorial Day weekend in direct competition with the Indy 500. That is usually Monaco that weekend, but that race is now in early June. Guys, back to you.
One of the funniest questions from Peter Schwartz is Ask Me Anything. Favorite restaurant on Long Island?
Oh, no. I know.
Shout out the Embassy Diner in Bethpage. I've never been there. I don't know anything about that. Thank you, folks. William is in San Francisco. Been doing the Mount Olympus of the 4 sports gods from Atlanta. And William, you have a great one. Who is it?
Yes. I know he's not the best person, but I have a couple of them that's just synonymous with Atlanta. Evander Holyfield was my first one because he was a good one running down. I never forget the image of him in the Olympics taking it over to Muhammad Ali. But
the torch,
also And also, I know he's not the best person again, but he's pretty much synonymous with Atlanta. That's Michael Vick. Man, when you talk about Atlanta, he might come up. I mean, he might not be on the Mount Rushmore.
Yeah.
But he is pretty synonymous. And when you talk about Atlanta, he might just come up, and they just might say he's one of the worst Atlantas, maybe.
Well,
but
he's on both Perloff and I's list. Michael Vick made our Mount Olympus of sports gods in Atlanta. I know that he had the dogfighting. Listen, he paid his dues. He went to prison for it. Thank you for the call. He made amends. He's become a spokesperson for the ASPCA. I mean, I talk about guys living their apology. It feels like Michael Vick has certainly done that. I think he is a sports god in Atlanta. Evander Holyfield is an amazing one.
We screwed that one up.
Yep, we did screw that up.
But, I mean, it's not like we had Joe Schmoes on our list.
Right,
I mean,
who can take off?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'd take off Hank Aaron, but I have no problem putting Hank Aaron on any Mount Olympus. I mean, the impact he made on the world of sports is bigger than Evander Holyfield, bigger than anyone in America.
Yeah, for mine, I guess I'd probably have to take off Dion. Now, why I put Dion on, even though he is not just synonymous with Atlanta, a lot of other cities, but playing for two teams in that city at the same time, I mean, it puts you in a different stratosphere.
And let's not forget Shallow.
But Holyfield as the heavyweight champ, and very famously from Atlanta. So that's a miss on our part.
Didn't Brian Jordan both play for two teams?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's not that rare.
Oh,
just saying.
Sorry.
Just saying.
Who's correcting people now?
I know. I think I'm sorry,
it was the Algonquin Indians that first came up with the concept of a roundhouse.
Just to be clear, I love spotting out others' mistakes too. If you spot it, you got it. I do it too.
I know. Well, you went to an Ivy League school. You can't help it.
Chipotle? Yeah, but I would say I let more go than you guys know.
Now I'll get self-conscious. Okay, we've got a lot more to do with the Atlanta sports gods. As we said, our pal Carl Dukes is going to join us in the next hour. Also coming up, I didn't even think this was back on the table, but apparently it is. A door I thought was long closed has now been cracked back open. We'll get to that next.
Regular use.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining.
On YouTube, tune in for some laughs, with a beer in his hand and his feet on the grass. He cheers for the Bogersh and Perloff with a toast to the day. 4th of July is the best, you'll hear him say. Raise your glass like the sky, it's the 4th once more. Drunkle Sam's got stories that you can't ignore. From Maggie to Perloff, he's got quite the plan to celebrate freedom with a drink in his hand. Uncle of the year with a patriotic twist, watching sports and sipping brews, none he's missed. He jokes and he laughs, spills some too, it's alright, cause Drunkle Sam's in charge of the fun tonight. Raise your glass like the sky, it's the 4th once more. Remember Bobo Brazil, I grew out of wrestling. I was 12 or 13, I stopped watching TV. I moved out of the house, we sold the TV. I think I went to school and watched less wrestling. Bob Custer in Nevada. 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 Do you remember him, or are you too young? I don't know where he is, but I don't care. He had curly hair, he always wore a tie. He always wore a tie. In Nevada, to school and watch less wrestling. Bob Custer in Nevada. 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 Custer in Nevada. Bob Custer in Nevada. Bob Custer in Nevada. Bob Custer in Nevada. Bob Custer in Nevada.
One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
How long are they going to worship this guy? Hey! We got Cy Young winners over here! Feel bigger? Yeah.
Hi, Top.
Chicks dig the long ball.
Hey, have you guys seen Mark?
You guys seen Mark?
It's Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Man, Manny, you were pulling these old commercials today. Was that, EJ, you got this one. Was this a promo for...
It's Chick Dig the Long Ball.
No, right. And it was Mark McGuire, and then it was the 3 Braves pitchers, right?
Oh, yeah, this is the famous Chick Dig the Long Ball. So
Nike, right?
Yeah, Nike, yep. McGuire's hitting these home runs, and they're like, hey, man, we're Cy Young winners. How does nobody want to watch us? And then they get into the gym. They start, working out, and then they start hitting the home runs in batting practice. And they're getting all strong. And then girl comes by, still's like, hey, you guys see Mark? And they're like, what the hell? We can't do anything right.
So the reason why we're talking about this is our 4 sports gods from the city of Atlanta. And I put Greg Maddux, on my Mount Olympus as a sports god. You put Chipper Jones.
Yeah. By the way, it's interesting because Tom Glavine was a really good hockey player, right? And John Smoltz, great hitter and amazing golfer.
Mm-hmm.
So interesting that they probably could hit the long ball. And I think Maddox was a good hitter and the greatest fielding pitcher of all time. Problem with me is those 3 guys kind of knock each other out.
Yeah, I always thought in my mind, to me, it's Maddox, Glavine, Smoltz. And I know
it's best pitcher, sure.
Right. So that's why for me, Maddox is the one who gets on the Mount Olympus. And the 4 Cy Youngs, none of the other guys had that many.
But one was in Chicago, but I believe.
Right. Well, I'm just saying, I think that Maddox was always he was the first name on the marquee. So he's the one who got the nod. As far as Braves are concerned, the rest of the list, just to round it out, Perloff and I both had Dominique Wilkins and Michael Vick on our Sports Gods of Atlanta. I went with Greg Maddux, and I also went with Deion Sanders.
Yeah, I went Hank Aaron, and I went Chipper, as mentioned before. The thing about Maddux, his personality was not all there. He's a self-proclaimed weirdo. Like Glavine and Smoltz, obviously.
Yeah. Well, Smoltz doing the World Series
Smoltz
now.
is now the lead broadcaster. Glavine's always been a kind of a leader type. where Maddox was just like, you've ever heard the gross Greg Maddox stories? They're unbelievable.
I have, yeah.
So, but to me, Chipper Jones was the consistent face of that team in many ways, and still is. He's still so identified with Atlanta baseball. By the way, if Freddie Freeman had played someday, maybe he stayed.
Yeah.
Maybe someday he could have been in that list. Rafael Acuna, if he could stay healthy, who knows? Did I say Rafael?
Yeah.
I did,
You did, and we did not correct you.
We're not correcting anybody because Perloff said we correct you too much.
I knew. The second I said, I'm like, oh, Ronald Acuna. Anyway, who is somebody? By the way, the Braves have killed us forever. I feel like Andrew Jones, pretty good Hall of Fame level guy.
Certainly. I don't know if I'd put him as my sports god, though.
Can I tell you guys why I think I'd lean more Maddox than Chipper? And I promise it's not because I hate Larry. When I think Braves, I think pitching. That to me is why. It's because they're even to me. They're both super mega stars. I say, all right, when I think of the names of Braves, what do I think? Chipper was great, but I'm always going to think pitching.
Pitching
so
staff,
I'm going to do the pitching staff. But it's very close. They're both awesome.
Eli is in Atlanta. Completely disagrees with me on which one. Eli, go ahead.
Hello. So I would say I think I disagree with keeping Hank Aaron out. Like, I get that he spent a lot of years in Milwaukee, hitting most of those home runs, but like Hank had a very important impact on the city, especially like in the time in which he played there. Like his impact was very like important from like a cultural and like social standpoint.
Oh, without a doubt. So just to be fair, he was on our Milwaukee Mount Olympus, and I guess, and I understand that the implications of Hank Aaron, the death threats that he got, the winter in between when he broke the home run record. Absolutely cultural figure. So who would you have taken off? My Mount Olympus had Michael Vick. It had Dominique, Greg Maddox, and Dion. Who would you have taken off?
It's tough. I think I would have. It's tough. I think I would have maybe taken Maddox off. It's very tough though. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, also like I think one person who probably should be considered if you want to go with a coach or manager is Bobby Cox.
Yeah, no doubt. I thought about Bobby Cox. Eli, thank you for the call and for the perspective. You know what's funny about some of the managers from that time? It's just funny.
A lot is funny.
A lot is funny.
The fact that they had to wear uniforms when they really shouldn't have. But
they
go ahead.
Still do.
Yeah, they still do.
Yeah, but they're trimmer now.
Those guys definitely should not have been. Perloff's 100% right about that.
Yeah, I mean, no one thought that Joe Torre at the end was going to be coming out taking BP.
Guys didn't like Cox in uniform?
Jack McKeon, come on.
Tommy Lasorda yesterday.
Yeah.
And Bobby Cox, by the way.
Yeah, no,
Bobby
Tommy
Cox,
Lasorda.
when he was 40, looked like he was 70. He just had that look.
No, Lasorda was doing the Slim Fast commercials. Like, those buttons were doing work. May he rest in peace. I understand that. The one thing about those guys and like the Tony La Russas and stuff, all these guys they're in the Hall of Fame, and guys who took steroids during that time are not. Now, I'm not saying that it's just like a weird disconnect in my head that the managers at that time got all the flowers and all the love, and the guys who took the steroids are the ones who get reviled and who get into who get put in a corner and labeled as cheaters, when the managers profited and benefited from all of that, and they get there's no black marks on their reputations whatsoever, even though they're all kind of complicit. Are they
I
not?
think that's there's only one guy who I think that's Tony La Russa, and I think there is a black mark on his record. Bobby Cox,
not because of that.
I think people associate him with the roid guys.
And not Joe Torre, not anyone else, not Bobby Cox.
But who's Bobby Cox's big guy? I'm sorry.
I'm just saying the 90s, you're having that kind of success. I do think David
Well,
Justice,
I say they
right?
probably
That
would
was
have won more World Series if they had more steroid guys. Who is their obvious steroid guy?
I thought that it wasn't David Justice on the Mitchell Report. I loved him,
David
by the way.
Justice. David
doing
Justice.
off the top of my head,
But
so
again,
I
they
don't
were-
want to disparage anyone.
How did Bobby Cox win? With dominant pitching, which is sneaky because a lot of those guys probably did something, but Maddox clearly did not.
No, and he's on my medal.
Yeah,
list.
Smoltz and Glavin. I don't know. Yeah, I feel like Bobby Cox would have avoided that a little bit. La Russa, I mean.
Well, obviously he's there with Mark McGwire, but I don't know.
By the
Anyway,
way, you did not have Hank Aaron on. Don't say our Mount Olympus.
I had him on Milwaukee.
Oh, I thought I had him on.
We both had him on.
Oh, we both did?
We did. 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. We've got some news for you out of Pittsburgh. You want to hear this? It's MNP.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining.
You had curly hair in Nevada, Bob Custer 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 in Nevada. Bob Custer in Nevada, Bob Custer in Nevada, Bob Custer in Nevada, Bob Custer in Nevada, Bob Custer in Nevada.
1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Let's go, baby! Yeah! Oh! Yeah! Let's go, Knicks! Let's go, baby! Yeah! Oh! Yeah! Let's go, Knicks!
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Well, Aaron Rodgers got all of the oxygen, but it looks like more trouble could be brewing at Pittsburgh Steelers mandatory minicamp. Welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff, Adam Scheffler, and others reporting this morning that TJ Watt, seeking a new contract with the Steelers, will not be attending Pittsburgh's mandatory minicamp. Good morning. What do you make of it?
I think this is a bigger problem than other people have been talking about because TJ Watt is, let me check the age. Is he 30
About
or 30?
to be 31.
About to be 31. So he wants the Myles Garrett contract of $40 million per year for who knows how long. He's starting to break down a little physically, and the Steelers probably don't want to make that commitment. That's almost a quarterback level commitment. So I'll bet you there's a real impasse here.
Okay, so does it get resolved, though? Because here's a couple options of what the Steelers could do.
Yeah.
They could get a new contract done. They probably would pay him around that Myles Garrett number. You're right, it's $40 million. Probably maybe could have gotten an extension done sooner, and maybe the price would have been a little bit smaller, but here we are. It's a lot of money. The second thing they could do is start applying franchise tags. And from what I'm seeing, that he actually would be classified as a linebacker. So that would take the cost to like $28.5 million, which would be big cost savings. But as we know about the franchise tag, you really want to tick somebody off, especially a face of the franchise type, even hint at the franchise tag, and you will get probably World War III. So I don't know if Watt wants to make this really messy, wants to make it really bad. I imagine he wants to stay and retire a Steeler. They got Aaron Rodgers. They're showing you they're going all in for this one season. But what about beyond that? That's the big question.
Well, yeah, but I mean, here's the question. Will he even show up for
the season?
This season, right?
Oh, I call that bluff.
I mean, obviously, Le'Veon Bell famously skipped the whole season with them.
I know, and he gets clowned for that. Like, he's like a cautionary tale.
I mean, Chris Jones went into week 2 recently with the Chiefs. I don't know if he's there week 1 if they don't do a deal.
You think he would actually sit out and
I
miss
think
games?
he would sit out. Yeah, I think so. I mean, just basically, Chris Jones is awesome. He gets along great with the team. TJ Watt does not seem to like the team. He put up an Instagram post with him, put up the peace sign to the team. I don't know that they're on the same page, even as much as Chris Jones and the Chiefs were. So I think a holdout's possible. You think that seems unlikely?
Well, I mean, I kind of said a similar thing about Aaron Rodgers when this thing was dragging out. Now Rodgers is signed. He's going to have his press conference today. But you're the Steelers, right? Yeah. You've been making the playoffs on 10-7 and 9-8. It's not like you've been blowing away your competition. And by the way, you're in an extremely tough division. Can you afford not to have TJ Watt for those first couple games of the season when this is where the Steelers this is what they've generally did, and especially last year. You get out to this really good start, and it leaves you a little bit of cushion to suffer a couple losses on the back end and still make the playoffs.
No, you're absolutely right. No, they can't afford not to have TJ Watt. But what do you think about this issue of his durability and long term? I think you actually brought up the idea, like maybe you trade a TJ Watt, because if you sign him to, say it's 3 years guaranteed, he's going to be 34, and you look what happened at the end of last year. He's a very physical player. I mean, he's like a Tasmanian devil out there when he's rushing the passer. I would be very nervous. I think they'll do it, but I don't think they're going to do it and be happy about it.
Do it, you mean by extending
I think they'll
him?
sign him. I think they'll sign him or re-sign him before the end of training camp. I think they'll get it done, but I think both sides are going to probably have a little bit of unhappy feelings about this. I bet you TJ Watt has to come down a little bit, and I bet you the team has to make a longer commitment. Because age is a big factor here for a pass rusher.
I get it. I think that if they were going into the season with Mason Rudolph, and it was like, you know what, we're going to kind of see where this thing goes, and we're not sure what's going on with our quarterback, then I would believe a trade could possibly happen. The fact that they did, get Aaron Rodgers, it looks like they really are trying to go for it this year and then see what happens. I don't think there's any way they trade him. As far as the extension is concerned, I wonder if you call his bluff. I wonder if you do say, listen, we're going to apply you can't apply the franchise tag now. He'd actually have to play the whole season.
This seems like a long way down the road, considering he's not at camp today, and he's taking big fines for it.
Man, I can't imagine him not playing games. I just can't.
Yeah, I mean,
And Chris Jones, by the way, remember how silly that kind of looked? I mean, he got his money, so good for him.
Yeah.
But he was up in a box on Monday night watching the Chiefs lose a heartbreaking game, I believe, to the Lions, was it? Things broke right a little bit for Chris Jones because his agents were like right next to him. That was not a comfortable situation. And by the way, the Chiefs already had 2 Super Bowls under their belt. You know, Pittsburgh is not enjoying that same perch.
Well, Tomlin's got 1 Super Bowl, but you're right. You know, it's funny about you saying, like, if they had Mason Rudolph, maybe they start to rebuild. This is a team that, did they lose Big Ben one season and the next week go out and trade first-round picks for Minka Fitzpatrick?
Yep.
They do not like the word rebuild. So I don't see that happening either. TJ Watt's a funny player, too. He's definitely a Hall of Famer, I think. If you win Defensive Player of the Year, you're a strong favorite to be a Hall of Famer.
Yep.
But there was
a multi-time All-Pro.
There was a video this year, I don't know if you saw it, where somebody was getting interviewed. It was the Niners, Fred Warner, talking to Julian Edelman, talking about how some pass rushers don't play the run. And it felt like people thought, oh, he's talking about TJ Watt. Is TJ Watt really the all-around player? I think TJ Watt actually took some shrapnel this offseason because of the way he didn't make any plays last year. I'm a big fan because there's nobody forces fumbles like TJ Watt. Like, he doesn't just get to the quarterback. He's incredible at swiping for the ball. He's been the key to the Steelers going 10-7 the last 3 or 4 years. But I get it. If he gets old and injury prone, then that is not good either.
888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. I know we're on in Steeler country. I know Steeler fans are all across this country. And I'm curious how big of a deal you think this is that TJ Watt is not attending mandatory meeting camp. On the meanwhile.
No. What the is Aaron Rodgers up to today?
TJ Watt's now a much more famous teammate. Aaron Rodgers is going to be in Pittsburgh today to meet the media.
Don't be a freaking weirdo.
Probably get asked about this too. Anyway, Rodgers, do you know where he was yesterday?
Yes, I do.
Cam Heyward's charity golf tournament.
Yeah. By the way, Rodgers, for all the conspiracy, that dude loves golf. Anything he's a speaking event, look for the golf course near there. He's appeared in that off-season tournament in July every year forever. Great golfer too.
Sticks in the back of the boo, Chevy Malibu. So I thought this was probably a good move for Rodgers. Cam Heyward.
I want to let you know the people of Pittsburgh will respect the fact you're driving around in a boo, brother.
The way he says brother, it's like the Hulk Hogan impersonation is just full
boo,
on,
brother.
right? Anyway,
brother.
Smart for Rodgers. Cam Heyward was the only person really who spoke out and said, listen, the pitch is if you want to come to Pittsburgh, do you want to come or do you not want to come? I'm not going to roll out the red carpet for Aaron Rodgers. And so obviously this is probably a good PR move for Rodgers to go to Cam Heyward's charity event and maybe show, hey, we're all in this together and united and no divisions here. And I think Rodgers playing the PR game pretty well right now.
Yeah, you know what, though? It means nothing to me because he did all that with the Jets. He went to a bunch of Knicks games, and it really didn't mean much.
Secret handshakes with Sauce Gardner.
Yeah. And then we heard all this behind-the-scenes stuff that there were different camps inside the Jets building. I don't worry about that with Pittsburgh because there's really never been 2 camps there. It's been Mike Tomlin in the defense and the irrelevant offense. So, like, I just think Rodgers will do his thing. Were you worried that there was going to be tension between the defense and the offense?
No, I think a lot of people respected what Cam Heyward had to say. I think he was kind of speaking more for the fans. Hey, do you want to be here? Do you not want to be here? Like, we're the Pittsburgh Steelers. We don't need you. We're not going to kowtow to you, all that stuff.
I said, you don't know me. And he said, you don't know me. And then I said, exactly.
But I think Heyward was speaking for a lot of Pittsburgh fans, and I think that they're fans who are still nervous that Rodgers is going to come in and Rodgers up the building.
I said, you don't know me.
Well, I'll tell you one thing.
And sort of try to take over.
I bet you Cam Heyward and Rodgers levitate towards each other because I've heard Rodgers talk about that. There's 22-year-old players in that locker room. He has no idea what to talk to them about. I'm sure him and Cam Heyward will sort of huddle in the corner and talk about dad things or whatever. I don't actually know. Rodgers not a dad.
Yeah.
But the older player, I mean, he's old now. He should be able to get along with guys. Like Cam Heyward is very old too. Like, they should be fine.
I think this is what happened. I think Rodgers went into the Jets and did try to be like the big brother type to the younger guys.
He never connected with those guys at all. He's like, you got to bring in some old so I have people to talk to.
Well,
serendipitous.
I think he tries to do that, and he definitely made an effort to do that with the Jets. But I think that when things are going badly, you always revert to what you know, which is, okay, bring in Devontae Adams. Okay, I want my Alan Lazard. I need my Tim Boyle.
Did he bring Randall Cobb to the Jets? Or?
The first year.
Yeah, because he needs someone to talk to in the locker room, Maggie. That's not.
Well, I think Randall Cobb, I think he's like the godfather of his kids and stuff.
Yeah.
It's serious.
So he's got to bring those. Yeah, Pittsburgh's got enough old guys for him to be okay, I think.
Yeah, totally.
And for Jordan Hudson as well, maybe.
Oh, boy. Who's the Jordan Hudson?
I do think Rodgers probably connected with Tomlin, too, who is sort of like, it does feel like now there's personality-wise, I'm not worried about the chemistry here.
Probably not. The only thing I would be worried about, and I know they're off to a very good start with, working out together in LA, but, what is DK Metcalf, who is getting paid a lot more than Aaron Rodgers? So that's one metric. Obviously, Rodgers is the Hall of Famer. Yeah. What's the relationship going to be like between Rodgers and Arthur Smith, Rodgers and DK Metcalf?
We do not care.
Are people going to get frustrated on that offense at all? I don't know.
I mean, listen, Mike Tomlin contained Antonio Brown for 6 years. This is not DK Metcalf. He had Martavis Bryant. He's had characters in that building.
That sucked.
I think the health is a bigger concern to me than chemistry. Like, they got to keep all these old dudes healthy. TJ Watt, starting there, by the way. We started this conversation with his contract. They need him healthy, even more than Rodgers. When Watt's off the field, they stink.
But
look at their record without Watt.
Rodgers came to New York, we had Gary Wilson, and it seemed like it was going to be a simple thing, and it just wasn't. And Gary Wilson, by the end, couldn't stand him. So, and DK Metcalf is temperamental. So I think it's something to follow,
DK is a little older than Gary.
Predict what a wide receiver one is going to do in the NFL, good luck to you. You have no idea how those guys are going to respond.
I don't think DK has the cap. First of all, DK's older. He's a lot older than Gary Wilson.
Yep.
I know DK acts up in games. I don't think he's known as like a locker room problem.
I don't think so either, but neither was Garrett Wilson.
Yeah.
Here's another question for you. So the news this morning, according to Adam Schefter, is that TJ Watt is not going to be reporting to mandatory minicamp on the same day that the Steelers are going to introduce Aaron Rodgers. So you get a little good, you get a little bad. Are you surprised Watt's not holding in? And the reason why I say that is like show up but don't participate.
Yeah, get the money.
Well, he probably doesn't need it, but show the united front. Like, I can't stress enough how much this is an all-in year for Pittsburgh.
How so?
Because of Rodgers.
Yeah, but they're paying him nothing.
But the symbolic nature of it doesn't matter that it's $10 million or $13 or what have you. Like, the symbolic nature of bringing in 42-year-old Aaron Rodgers, 41, is that you are going for it. And so I think this happened a little bit with San Francisco, and sometimes it hurt them and sometimes it didn't, where they had guys holding out in seasons where they're trying to win Super Bowls. And sometimes, it hurt them, I think, and did cast a shadow, and some other times they got through it. But I feel like you want to start this thing off on the right foot, don't you?
Do you think the Steelers are an all-in team a la the model of Matthew Stafford and the Rams?
Absolutely.
Oh, my God. All in for what? All in to go 11-7?
Well, then why bring in Rodgers if you're not trying to win a Super Bowl?
To go 11-7 because you're the Pittsburgh Steelers and that's what you do. Also, too, it's a great deal for them because he is committing nothing to them. They're totally scot-free. They can do, I don't know what that expression is.
Scot-free.
Scot-free. Next season, they can do whatever they want at quarterback, and that's the value of Rodgers to them.
No, nobody's going to be scotch-free in that building if TJ Watt doesn't show up.
Yeah,
You're going to need lots of scotch.
But... yeah, I mean, I don't think there's a lot of pressure on this year for Steelers. I think there's a kind of a desperate field of bringing in Rodgers.
EJ, can throw a pull-up TJ Watt to a long-term deal? Yes, no?
Steelers are 15th in Super Bowl odds. Or they're tied for 15th. You're telling me that's an all-in situation?
Again, the symbolism of it, I think, is huge. 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. They could have kept Justin Fields, which we know they actually wanted to do. I know, but they got outbid by what, $15 million for a quarterback? That's an invitation.
I just think the way the Rodgers thing took so long took a lot of that feel away from it. I almost felt like they were the last two people left at the dance. Not like this is all in means, man, it's February 1st. Let's get this guy. We're going to build a champion. Now it's like, you know what? He's there. We need somebody.
This is 2 a.m. at the bar?
This is 2 a.m. Absolutely. And not only that, they have other issues. They drafted they could have drafted Shedeur Sanders, but they're like, we need to fix this defense, or it's supposed to be our calling card. I just don't think that this is a all-in situation. Again, ask the Pittsburgh fans. Do you feel like they think they're on the brink of a Super Bowl?
Well, I think there's a disconnect between the fans and the team and the fans in the front office. That's I think, a major source of the tension here, if there is some, between the fans of Pittsburgh and Mike Tomlin.
Yeah, Tomlin seems perfectly happy to have 11 wins.
And I don't think the fan base is feeling that way.
Yeah, but I think Rodgers is more along that line, which if your Super Bowl is your only goal, I don't think Rodgers gets you there.
888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. So again, that is the breaking news from this morning from Adam Schefter. He actually has two little nuggets here. One is that TJ Watt is not attending mandatory minicamp. And the other, not surprisingly, Trey Hendrickson from the Bengals also not reporting to mandatory.
That's a big llama.
But I think
a lot of sacks not in camp.
Yeah, that's a funny way to put it. We have the Mount Olympus of Maggie and Perloff. We're all thinking it.
I mean, you got, it's training camp. You got to keep the legs strong.
Mm-hmm.
No girls.
Ball sack was the best. I said that? We have the Mount Olympus of Maggie and Perloff, the four sports gods today. The city of Atlanta is in our sights. So our pal Carl Dukes, who does afternoons in Atlanta, one of the huge sports personalities in Atlanta, and just all around great guy. You hear him here on the Infinity Sports Network as well. He will join us next. MVP.
You're in a 5-minute break.
history, Bilatti's no show. Jay's the real MVP of the Maggie and Perloff show. Make it right. Yeah, yeah. Down in Music City, there's a man named Jay. He's tuned in to Maggie and Perloff every single day. Life's been a battle, he's been losing for years, but now his motto's clear. No more losing tears. He's been down, he's been low, but now he's ready for a brand new show. Jay's got questions, can't let it slide. Who's running the YouTube on the Infinity side? Jay in Nashville calling out the crew. Who's behind the curtain? He demands the truth. Peter Bummelotti's ghosting, no work in sight, but Jay's got the Maggie and Perloff show to make it right. Make it right.
The Defensive Player of the Week is brought to you by Navy Federal Credit Union. Our members are the mission. All right, Maggie, you had a strong candidate for Defensive Player of the Week?
Yeah, it's from last night. It's got to be Denzel Clark from your Athletics, Pearl, playing against the Angels, climbing up the wall like Spider-Man and robbing a home run. I mean, that thing was out by 5 or 6 feet.
Amazing. It's my favorite defensive play in baseball, climbing over a fence. I used to pretend I did that all the time as a kid, and I haven't seen one like this in a long time. That was incredible.
And he's a rookie from Canada.
He did it last week too, right?
Just amazing. I didn't realize he's cousins with the Nailers.
Big night for that family.
Yeah.
By the way, I don't think EJ, who picks us, can do any of the Thunder guys, because you've done the Dorcher Chamber, you've done Caruso, you've done Kason Wallace. Like, you got to be bored of the Thunder guys at this point. So I think Maggie, you're right. I think it's baseball.
I think it should be Denzel Clark. This is really EJ picks the defensive player. I think you could also go with Bobrovsky or something from last night if you wanted Florida Panthers goalie. Who'd you pick?
All right, Manny, play it.
And this one to center field. Denzel Clark on the move back after he stepped towards home plate and makes another catch.
Oh my God!
Back-to-back weeks where he wins the Electric Play of the Week, and he's already on the leaderboard for this week.
You go ahead and book it.
Denzel Clark of the Athletics is the defensive player of the week. That's NBC Bay Area, right? I'm correct on that?
NBC Sports California.
NBC Sports California. Sorry about that. On the call, phenomenal catch. I feel like this is the play that everyone wants to do in your backyard. You just, you throw a ball near a fence, say, go try to catch it. Like, this is like quintessential, perfect kind of baseball play. Incredible. One of the greatest robbies or home run you ever see. So, Denzel Clark, you are the defensive player of the week.
Nitpicking here a little bit. Does a goalie get defensive player of the week because they're a goalie? Shouldn't you give it to a defenseman in hockey?
I agree with Perloff.
And it's like you try to do
He's the last line of defense, the goalie.
Technically, but it feels weird putting a goalie in there.
Should a pitcher not be awarded defensive player of the week?
Wait, who?
A pitcher?
No.
I would never give a pitcher.
Wait.
Award.
You're that, not to be whatever, that makes no sense. He has to stop the puck.
I understand.
Oftentimes when he has a lot of saves, it's because the defense is playing bad.
It just feels weird to me.
It doesn't. You're wrong.
Really? Why?
Goalie.
It feels
because there's actually
goalie,
a defenseman in the NHL.
I know, but the way that the NHL is weird, though, because everyone does a little of everything, right? So you have like awards for the best scoring defenseman, and
Yeah, because I'll tell you, because I feel like goalie is a standalone position. It's like a kicker. Like, there's nothing like a goalie. Like, he doesn't go into categories with other guys. But he's not like just one of the guys. He wears different pads. It just feels like he's goalie of the week. Not like there's an award for defensive player of the year, right? And I assume it's not a goalie.
All right. I thought you meant that he doesn't do the defense, like as if like he was just there picking up the scraps of like the defenseman. You're just saying he's not a defender by definition.
I don't know. It just feels like
he's defending the net.
I understand what a goalie does. I'm aware of how
I'm not sure that
I don't know if you do.
Yeah.
He's the most important defenseman.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, the James Norris Memorial Trophy goes to the top defensive player in the NHL.
Correct.
And that is not a goalie.
Well, but that's because they've got the Vezina, but that's because it's so important that you need its own category.
Right. To me, it separates. It's a little different. It just feels weird. It's like a soccer goalie. I wouldn't call a defenseman either. I'd call the defenseman a defenseman.
Oh. But in soccer, though, and correct me if I'm wrong, Manny, if the defense is doing its job, the goalie has less work to do.
Oh, 100%. I play goalkeeper with my friends whenever
they're doing their job. But hockey, you got to make saves no matter what. Like, there are times where goalies don't make a save in a soccer game.
Oh, yeah, that's why I play goalie.
But it's kind of like the argument. I think there's a legit pitchers do not belong on this list. And they're very important to keeping the runs down. See, I don't at all. Because the pitcher gets a separate award for defense.
But so take the award out of it. Does the pitcher come out with the offense or the defense?
Defense, Maggie.
Thank you. He's out on the field with the defense.
So why did Greg Maddux get all those gold gloves for defense? Because of his pitching?
Well, because he's a great fielding pitcher. That's the metric for that award. Why is it all just about what the awards are?
Because I think there's a reason those awards are. Like, defensive player of the week, to me, should never go to a pitcher.
But a pitcher can play defense. But pitching, your pitching argument makes much more sense than your hockey one. Your hockey one, I got nothing for.
I just
but the
feel
pitching one I get.
Goalie's a standalone. It just feels weird to lump him in.
But he's a defensive player. He's standing with the defense.
No, I understand the function of
he doesn't score.
Hockey goal.
He's actually not allowed to go past
But a pitcher doesn't
mid-ice.
score either. So you argue a pitcher should be on this.
So hold on. If a pitcher goes 27 up, 27 down, that's not a great defensive performance?
Yeah,
no, it's a great pitching.
Yeah, it's a pitching performance.
Right. Yeah, nobody would call that a great defensive performance.
But if he somehow...
Wow, did you see the defense on Paul Skeens last night? Nobody would say that.
So what if he made 4 putouts then? Then it becomes a great defensive performance?
Yeah.
That's different.
Put on the poll. Do you consider a pitcher a defensive player?
Oh, yes, please.
Let's get to Bogish and his headlines. As Carl Dukes is going to be joining us in just a few minutes to give us the definitive list on the 4 sports gods from the city of Atlanta.
My dog. To recap some of the breaking NFL news you guys have already mentioned, T.J. Watt in Pittsburgh, Trey Hendrickson in Cincinnati, both pass rushers not expected to report for mandatory minicamp as their contract disputes continue. If they stay away for all 3 days, which is the expectation, they accrue $104,000 worth of fines. We also have Manny's favorite type of visual stimulation, punting. Yesterday, the Jaguars signed Pro Bowler Logan Cook to a 4-year extension. The reported $14 million annual average value made Cook the highest paid punter, a title he held until this morning.
Just
because
crazy.
The Seahawks are giving Michael Dixon a 4-year extension, and that one includes $200,000 more than Cook's contract.
This is what I live for.
Punter contract
This
dispute?
is why I have Adam Schefter tweet notifications on, so I can get punter news.
Is Logan Paul is punting? I was half listening to her.
If it's not Tiana Trump, it's punting. That's all Manny needs.
If she shows up in a Michael Dixon jersey, I'd be like,
Look
whoa.
out.
Girl,
You are a real fan,
Get in a
chick.
Jalen Brunson jersey.
Do we know, by the way, Perloff and I learned who this woman was yesterday, Bogues. I don't know if you're familiar with her line of work.
I am not. Her line of work, yes. She's a defensive player.
Sometimes often. Anyway, we found out who Tiana Trump was yesterday. She's an adult film star.
Yeah.
That's pretty much not Halliburton's girlfriend.
And she was wearing a Tyrese Halliburton jersey. Do we know, by the way, I don't know when that photo was taken. Was it before one of the game winners, or was it before, he went 2 for 7 through the first 3 quarters? Like, is she good luck or bad luck is what I'm asking.
I have no idea. It surfaced between game 1 and 2.
It's probably bad luck.
Yeah, that's not good.
Ask Zion Williamson. It's probably bad luck.
Oh, she's involved with him too?
No, but Zion Williamson seems to be involved with those individuals in that line of work.
Yeah, give it 5 minutes is what you're telling me.
Game 3 of the Stanley Cup Final, the Panthers took a 2-0 lead into the second period, but the Oilers scored just 100 seconds into that frame, gaining some momentum, which lasted for roughly 80 seconds.
Far corner, bumped down by Barkov. A battle for a loose puck. Panthers have it. Reinhart, a shot. He scores out of the far circle, off the iron and in. Sam Reinhart gets the Panthers up by a pair once again. Exactly 3 minutes into period number 2. 3-1 Panthers.
That's Doug Plagans on Panthers radio. Florida scored again before the second was over, then won the game 6-1 for a 2-1 series lead on Edmonton. Head coach Paul Maurice not mincing words about the importance of that Reinhart goal.
Sam Reinhart goal is the inflection point of the game. So at 2-1, especially based on what both teams have kind of been through in the first 2, there is no lead at that point, and Sam's goal was very important for us.
Maggie's Oilers played their worst game in weeks. That included 21 penalties, totaling 85 minutes. They do get an extra day to recover. Game 4 not until Thursday night in Florida. Baseball last night, somebody cares. The Phillies busted their 5-game drought, 4-3-11 over the Cubs. The Braves snapped their 7-game skid with a 7-1 win in Milwaukee. And here's a good one. Florida A&M AD Angela Suggs was just arrested on fraud charges. She allegedly used a corporate credit card for personal purchases totaling $24,000 at her previous job. At last check, she still has her current job while this all plays out.
That doesn't seem like a bright idea.
Do we know what the purchases were? Like, do we get the itemized receipt?
Personal travel that she then put under like meal expenses at work.
Yeah, isn't that one of the great all-time scams, right? Is when you're supposed to, you travel somewhere and then you have like one business lunch and then you put the whole thing under a business lunch?
Yep.
So people are getting busted for that now?
No, this is more than that.
Okay.
Yeah, this is more
the
than
way
that.
you asked that seemed very pointed, Maggie.
Yeah.
Just want to see what I'm
should I
in
stop?
for. No.
How long is you going to jail for?
No company credit card over here, which, by the way, is a lot. It was nerve-wracking to me to have a company credit card.
Oh, yeah, that does sound dangerous.
Well, not because I was tempted to do anything. It's just there's so much you have to make sure everything has to add up, every last cent, and all of your receipts. And if you don't stay on top of it, then they build up and all of a sudden you're getting hauled off to jail because you had 20.
Well, I also feel like when you have the company credit card and your coworkers know it, they try to be like, you have to pay.
You gotta
buy
pay.
us that.
No, but that's why you're there is to pay for everything.
But then you're going to be like, if you're doing a TV productions, everyone's like, well, you got to buy this thing at the Dick's Sporting Goods. And all of a sudden, you're the one.
And how do you
puts a lot of
categorize
pressure
it?
on it.
It's a lot. And people flag your receipts all the time. Better off. Okay, Bogues, thank you so much. We've been doing the Mount Olympus project. Maggie and Perloff determined the 4 sports gods from every great sports city in this country and parts of Canada. Today we find ourselves, where else? Atlanta, Georgia. And to figure out what we got right and what we got wrong, we have to turn to an expert on the subject. Carl Dukes, 92.9 The Game. Dukes and Bell, you can hear him right here on the Infinity Sports Network as well. There's nobody's opinion we trust more than Carl Dukes. Carl, good morning. Thank you so much for doing this. How are you?
I'm great, guys. Maggie and Perloff, how are you guys? Perloff, before we get started, I gotta ask you a question, man. I heard you were getting people front row seats at the Garden, and I'm just wondering what a brother has to do to get those seats with you. I'm just wondering.
So we have a hookup, front row seats at the Garden. Our producer EJ, though, here's the thing, Carl. I'm not sure you want to do this. He had to sit next to James Dolan for 3 hours. And he had to be on his best behavior. It was stressful. I'm a Sixers fan. I rooted for the Knicks that night just to make Mr. Dolan happy. Do you still want him?
Under those circumstances, let me rethink this.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a good point.
Wait, Carl, you also have to understand that you can go with Perloff, and he does have the hookup, and it's amazing. You will be watching the Washington Wizards. You will not be watching. It will not be Game 3 against the Pacers.
You big dummy.
I might be able to get a Hawks game in there, but the Hawks have a special draw up here in New York. People like that game.
They do, and they hate Trae Young. So
that's why.
That's part of it.
Yeah.
Could you boo Trae Young if you were sitting next to Dolan? That's the question.
Oh no, I couldn't do that. He would look at me because I do some of their games. He would be like, "Really, bro?"
You get one sight of Chalamet, and all of a sudden you're booing me. Carl Dukes is here, 92.9 The Game. Dukes and Bell, they are the biggest thing in Atlanta, and that's why we had to bring you on, Carl, because we're doing the Mount Olympus of the sports gods from Atlanta. There can be only 4. And I'll just give you ours. So Perloff and I both put 2 of the same people. 1, Dominique. 2, Michael Vick. We split on the second 2. I went with Greg Maddux and Deion Sanders. Playing 2 sports in one city at the same time, I feel like earns you a spot on Mount Olympus. Perloff, you went with who?
Hank Aaron and Chipper Jones.
Okay, so Carl, before we get your Mount Olympus, when you give us the definitive sports athletes, figures, what have you, from Atlanta, what did we get right? What did we get wrong?
Well, I think you both you said Dominique, right?
Yeah.
You both had Dominique. You both got that right. There's never been a more, especially when it comes to hoops, a transcendent figure here in Atlanta than Neek. He calls the Hawks games. He's beloved. He has a statue out in front of the arena. He is a Hall of Famer. He had great battles with some of the all-time best. I mean, that's a no-brainer, especially from the NBA standpoint. There's never been a more impactful player than Dominique in Atlanta. The interesting thing is the split on the Braves. The Henry Aaron, guys, is a no-brainer as well because Henry Aaron transcended the game unlike any other player, and he meant so much to this Atlanta community. I don't know if there's ever been anyone else, to be quite honest with you, whether it's Vic, which we'll get to, or Matt Ryan, or Tom Glavine, who I have over the other big three. The big three was Maddox, Smoltz, and Glavine. But as far as Henry Aaron, his grace, he dealt with so much racism. We forget about the time period in which he was coming up, and certainly he battled the home runs. He was so consistent, but he was a special individual, and so the Braves, they recognize Henry Aaron every chance they get because they know what he meant to this community. So I'm going to tell you, Henry Aaron and Dominique, those are two there. The split on the pitchers, the big three, I'm going to go with Tom Glavine, and here's why. Glavine, of the big three, had 8 All-Star appearances. He was tied with Smoltz, but he had the most 20-win seasons of those three pitchers or those two guys. But he also, ironically, I think had one of the most iconic commercials in the history of the game, and that's Chicks Dig the Long Ball. That commercial, you play that commercial now, and you're still laughing because McGuire and Sosa are doing their thing, and these guys are like, look, we're winning 20 games a year. What do we have to do? So from that standpoint, I just think Glavine, and by the way, guys, he won more games than the other two as a Brave. So those are the criteria for me to put him on the Mount Rushmore for Atlanta, but you could easily have all three there, and I don't think that there's a bad choice. But let's talk about Mike Vick real quick. There's never been a more electric, entertaining player in the history of Atlanta, but let alone, guys, I'm going to tell you the NFL. When Mike Vick came into the league, we also forget that he was the first African-American quarterback selected number 1 overall. The Falcons traded to make that move. And when they did, the city was crazy. And ironically, for those outside of Atlanta who don't know this, Arthur Blank lowered the ticket prices so they could fill the Georgia Dome. You could get a $10 ticket in the top of the Georgia Dome back then because the anticipation of what this meant. And the Falcons had never done anything like this before. Then Vic comes into the league, and we know he was unbelievable. Now, he never won a Super Bowl. He, had playoff appearances, the big win in Green Bay. But I just think that moment in time, we'll never experience that again. And I'm going to tell you, there are athletes who come and go here in Atlanta, and everybody always compares him to Mike Vick. So Vick is on there despite his troubles off the field just because of what he did for the city and how he made the city become even bigger than what it was.
Carl Dukes is joining us from 92.9 The Game in Atlanta, Dukes and Bell. You can also hear him right here on the Infinity Sports Network. He does an incredible job. Yeah, put up your Dukes, put them up. I love that. So here's what I was a little surprised by, Carl, because we got a lot of phone calls about the 4 sports gods of Atlanta. 1, Bobby Jones made in a lot of sports calls. And 2, Herschel Walker did not. And I'm curious because I know it's a little different. It's Athens. It's not Atlanta. But it is Georgia, the University of, which is, we know, such a huge part of American sports. And Walker is the Heisman Trophy winner and the sports god of the Bulldogs. Are you surprised we got more calls about Bobby Jones as like the godfather of the Masters as opposed to Herschel Walker?
No, because the Masters is such a huge, ginormous event here and worldwide. And Bobby Jones, orchestrated that. And golf is such a big deal here. There is nothing, you guys know, there's nothing like the Masters event. People come from all over the world. And for Georgia to be able to claim that and say, hey, it's ours and there's nothing like it, and the coverage it gets. So I'm not surprised because golf is huge. But I will tell you that I do not think Herschel Walker, and this is not a personal dig at him, I just don't know if Herschel, he was an unbelievable athlete, Heisman Trophy winner, arguably the greatest running back in the history of Georgia football. But I don't know if he came across to to connect with fans in a way that some of these other players did. And that may be the reason why you say, all right, well, why is he higher, or why do people think that this guy was better? I'll give you an example. I would put Chipper Jones on the list before I would put Herschel Walker, because Chipper Jones, one of the all-time third basemen in baseball history, had an unbelievable career here in Atlanta, won a World Series, was instrumental in so many things with the Braves while they were winning in the 90s and winning all those division titles. And then I would also put Matt Ryan above him, because Matt Ryan led the Falcons to a Super Bowl, was the NFL MVP, and his career, he's going into the Hall of Fame as well. I just feel like those guys, for me, would be higher on the list than Herschel Walker. And I think that may be part of this, is that fans connected with those guys a little bit more than they did Herschel.
All right, Carl, since we have you, we have to ask about the big story in Falcons camp right now. Is Kirk Cousins going to be there by week 1?
I don't think he's landing on any Mount Olympuses, by the way, in Atlanta sports. I don't think Kirk Cousins, this has not been a rosy relationship between him and the team.
He could be the backup Mount Olympus. He's the...
Maggie Perloff, I've been so PO'd about this whole situation. It's been a mess. Perloff, I've said he's going to be here. I predicted that he would be here past June 1st, which was obviously just passed, and they could have taken the cap hit, spread it out over 2 years, and been done with this. They've not released him. They've not done that. They have told me, and I've talked to many folks in the organization, that they were serious. I don't think anybody believed it, in keeping him. They were adamant about he will be here and he will be our backup. They just didn't want to give him away, and they didn't want to take that huge cap hit that they would have taken by releasing him months ago. So he called Arthur Blank. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this story, but he wanted to talk to Arthur about being traded, and he said he wanted to go to a contender. And Arthur was on the phone with him allegedly an hour, and Arthur Blank said, I even took notes because he wanted to be respectful of Kirk. Guys, he's here. I don't know if he's going to be speaking at all. This is Michael Penix's team now. And if something happens, it's going to be because somebody, unfortunately, gets hurt in the NFL, and they absolutely need a quarterback, and they're willing to come and possibly trade for him. That's the only way this is going to get resolved. If not, he's here, and the Falcons are just fine with it.
Carl, can't tell you how much we appreciate this. We listen to you all the time. We love you and Mike Bell. 92.9, The Game in Atlanta, and, of course, right here on the Infinity Sports Network. Carl Dukes, thank you, Carl, for giving your definitive list of sports gods of Atlanta.
Maggie and Perloff, have a great day. Put them up!
I feel a little bit better about leaving Evander Holyfield off now that Carl didn't mention him, because I was feeling bad about that for the last hour and a half.
Well, right, because we did Joe Louis in Detroit, and Evander Holyfield, I do think has that kind of impact.
Yep.
It would have been a good choice. But again, that's the challenge with all these Mount Olympuses. You just get 4. There are plenty of worthy candidates. Carl just named a bunch of them.
I know. So you have Hank Aaron, obviously, and we both put him on for Milwaukee, where he obviously hit a lot of home runs and had a huge impact. But yes, the cultural impact. And Michael Vick, the cultural impact, too.
I think generally, too, when you talk about Hank Aaron, most people think Atlanta before Milwaukee.
Well, that's because he is the famous breaking Babe Ruth's record happened in Atlanta.
Yeah, and also is the more recent, too. I know he came back to play with the Brewers, the different team at the end of his career, but I think that he was more famous as an Atlanta Brave. Again, I know obviously you are not disparaging Hank Aaron.
No.
Yeah, but
I want to recognize what he did.
If we were going to say one city for Hank Aaron, I would say Atlanta, actually. I would not say Milwaukee, but he's the kind of guy. There's a few guys who we're going to make 2. I have another one. In fact, there might have been other guys that we've done 2, but there's 2 coming up. A guy who could be on. Oh, yeah. I'll just say, I think Clyde Drexler has a shot to make 2, which is interesting because he made my Portland.
Yep, mine too. But
and he went to college in Houston.
Yep, when we go to Houston, which is going to be happening soon. Appreciate Carl. Love listening to him and Mike. Dukes and Bell are fantastic. They'll be all over that Kirk Cousins thing too, because they are. I think Kirk has not appointed himself well, really, in Atlanta. I think people are. I think they're sick of it. I'm also thinking, what are the notes that Arthur Blank was taking when they were doing the phone call?
Wait, do you think? I don't think they blame Kirk though. I think they blame the team. I mean, listen, this is 100% on the Falcons. There might not be a lot of trust there.
Either.
I mean, not a trust. It's just like, what kind of team pays up for the number one quarterback in free agency, then drafts another one at 8. They don't seem like they know what they're doing. I think that's the bigger problem. In fact, I'll bet you the ownership's like, focus on Kirk because we got bigger problems.
888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. Get back to the big story from this morning. Somebody is not showing up to mandatory minicamp, and it's a big deal. We'll tell you next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. 15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to the Maggie Perloff Show. All right, so we got some big training camp news for you. I'm sorry, mandatory minicamp news. TJ Watt not showing up. Wants a new contract in Pittsburgh, Pearl. Is going into the last year of his deal, and he's going to be staying away. Ditto for Trey Hendrickson, although that's not that surprising. And then you just saw some news about Terry McLaurin from the Washington Commanders.
Reportedly not going to camp. That's been the big story. So Terry McLaurin not happy with his contract. They need him. But everyone we're talking about, the Commanders need Terry McLaurin as much as the Steelers need TJ Watt. Do you agree?
The Commanders.
I do. And I think that these players understand, especially for Washington and for, well, actually all three, Washington, Pittsburgh, and for Cincinnati. These are all teams that think they're slam dunk playoff teams. Super Bowl contenders, all right, maybe we could split hairs about that. But you're telling me Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, and Washington aren't under pressure to, for Washington to follow up last year and make sure that doesn't look like a fluke.
Yep.
Pittsburgh, Tomlin's got his record on the line of over 500. They got Rodgers in the building now.
And they're terrible without Watt. The record is awful.
Terrible. And then for Cincinnati, you're coming off a healthy Joe Burrow year when you didn't make the playoffs. Well, everyone should be feeling uncomfortable after a season like that.
I would say the one thing about Cincinnati, they cut a linebacker yesterday. I'm like, anyone who was on that defense last year, I don't know that they were doing anything right. So I'm not as worried about Cincinnati bringing their defense back. I think they need to start over and get a whole new group in there. But Hendrickson's the one good player, but it's a bit of a different situation than the other two to me.
Yeah, they have a new defensive coordinator. Al Golden is the new defensive coordinator in Cincinnati, if that one kind of slipped under the radar. But meanwhile, it's a big deal to me. I think the biggest deal out of all three of these is TJ Watt, because to me, the Rodgers signing is trying to symbolize an all-in type of season. If you are the Washington Commanders, first of all, as a fan, you're just so happy your team is not embarrassing anymore.
Wow, Jaden Daniels.
You've got Jaden Daniels, but that's the cool thing about having a great quarterback, and we think Jaden Daniels is going to continue on this rise. You might be able to interchange the wide receivers a little bit more when you have a stud at quarterback. Maybe you feel like, all right, well, if it's not Terry McLaurin, maybe we can make it work with XYZ.
Well,
and McLaurin, I love.
So Jaden Daniels on his rookie deal, you got to have as much talent as possible. This is when you pay up for Terry McLaurin.
But what if I told you, ESPN 30 for 30 style, what if I told you Terry McLaurin's 30 years old, and I know how you feel about wide receivers who are 30?
Yeah, I feel like he's 30's fine. I think he's got, the way he plays, he's got 2 or 3 more good years. So by the fifth year of Jaden Daniels, when you have to pay him, then you move off of Terry McLaurin. And by the way, Debo, I've seen all these videos of my Instagram of Debo getting cooked in practice. So I don't know what that means, because he is legit. He's old and beat up, but I'm sure he'll show up come game time. But I think this is an all-in around Jaden Daniels year for sure. This is when you pay up. Even more so than TJ Watt and these guys, you have to take advantage of this rookie deal.
So you think in order of importance of who gets their deals first, you think it's Terry McLaurin, then who? Then Watt?
God. I'm going to go back. I would say Watt first, because the Steelers win at about a 30% clip when he's not on the field. Then McLaurin, then Hendrickson. How do you do it?
I think it's Watt first, then McLaurin, then Hendrickson. Yeah, we're going to be simpatico.
But I think there is a lot going on. And I'll tell you, I think I'm glomming off of you a little bit. You loved some Terry McLaurin, some scary Terry.
He's so good. He was playing with nobody for years.
And he's just good. And by the way, you know who gave him the nickname Scary Terry? My friend Case Keenum.
All right.
Yeah, he said I called him Scary Terry when he was just a rookie. Third round pick out of Ohio State, because he was in an Ohio State receiver room with like 5 other NFL players, and you never knew much about him. He actually came in as a special teams demon, too, and he's just fantastic.
Would TJ Watt actually miss games if this went that far? I just can't imagine it.
It doesn't seem like a Watt brother move, but he doesn't seem happy.
Thank you, DJ Stewart. Thank you to Manny Rodriguez. Thank you, Andrew Bogish, Andrew Kaplan, Carl Dukes, who joined us, Guido's Coffee Drinkers, everyone who weighed in on the Mount Olympus of sports gods from Atlanta. Tomorrow, we head to our nation's capital, D.C.
I'm the captain.